the Epiphyllum Cult has finally fallen. But peace does not last for long. As the mysterious mountain god becomes a legend across the Nine Dynasties, Guan quietly returns to his peaceful life harvesting herbs, accumulating lifespan, and hiding the terrifying power of the Nirvana realm. Meanwhile, Lingjun breaks through to the profound heart realm. Li Xuandao begins moving in the shadows, and an even older threat starts awakening beyond the human lands. The demons are gathering, and the legend of the demon ancestor is beginning to stir once more. Welcome to episode 15. Seeing Lingjun fall silent once again, Guan could tell that she had finally grasped the opportunity for a breakthrough. Lingjun had clearly been at the 9th level of the integration realm for a very long time. Her spiritual power had already reached the point where it could grow no further. Guan pulled her back into the valley and said, "What do you think the profound heart realm really is? It sounds incredibly powerful. Profound heart. Profound heart. Could there be something special about the heart itself at that realm?" Lingjun's gaze shifted slightly when she heard him. Something had indeed begun to change within her heart, as though a strange power were surging up from its depths. That unusual force was naturally Guan's mana. He controlled it with such subtle precision, and the gulf between their realms was now so enormous that Lingjun did not realize the power came from him. Instead, she thought she was finally beginning to undergo the transformation she had been waiting for. The strand of mana circled once through Lingjun's heart before returning to Guan's body. To her, it felt like a fleeting sense of something slipping away almost as soon as it appeared. By then, the other disciples in the valley had gathered around, asking about the female demonic cultivator who had just appeared. Covered in blood, Guan gave them a few vague answers before returning to his pavilion to wash himself clean. Lingjun went back to the wooden railing and raised her head toward the thunderclouds, continuing to watch the battle. Fairy Baihei's appearance had been nothing more than a brief disturbance to the Third Medicine Valley. Even the servant disciples did not think much of it. None of them knew that the woman who had just died stood near the very peak of the Nine Dynasties. Aside from Guan, she had been the strongest cultivator present in Tai Xuan Sect. Far away, in the Tai Xuan Dynasty, Wanji Forest, great banners stood in a vast ring around the edge of the forest, enclosing an open field hundreds of miles across. Deep trenches had been carved through the earth. From above, those trenches formed an extraordinarily complex network of runes. This was the Epiphyllum Cult's supreme sect protecting formation, the Six Paths Great Ascension Formation. At its center, 7 black-robed figures sat in a circle. Every one of them was in the profound heart realm, and none was below the 5th level. They were the 7 highest-ranked venerables among the cult's 100 venerables. An elderly woman among them opened her eyes. "There's a profound heart realm battle taking place near Tai Xuan Sect. It seems the Vice Cult Master and Venerable Qian have already made their move. I wonder whether Sword Venerable Fu Dao will appear." The other 6 opened their eyes as well. Tai Xuan Sect is facing destruction. Sword Venerable Fu Dao will naturally intervene. Everyone claims Fu Dao is at least at the 8th level of the Profound Heart Realm. Whether that's true remains to be seen. Either way, now that the Vice Cult Master has acted, Tai Xuan Sect has no one left to rely on except Sword Venerable Fu Dao. We truly underestimated the sects of this region. It looks barren and backward, yet they managed to gather so many profound heart realm cultivators. They've stood for thousands of years. It isn't surprising that some of their old monsters eventually reached the profound heart realm. The 7 Epiphyllum Cult venerables spoke casually, as though Tai Xuan Sect's destruction were already a foregone conclusion. At the same time, more than 10,000 miles away, Tai Xuan Sect's forces were stationed throughout a mountain range. Within a 1,000-mile radius, groups of disciples stood watch from nearly every peak. At the main camp, Lu Baitian, ancestor Zhuantian, and more than a dozen high-ranking members of Tai Xuan Sect had gathered beneath a temporary pavilion. Anhao and Wu Jue were there as well. Anhao stood beside Lu Baitian, while Wu Jue remained behind pavilion elder Zhou Yu. Lu Baitian sat with imposing authority. Rather than the master of an orthodox sect, he looked more like some tyrannical demon venerable. His expression was dark. What is this supposed to mean? Xianxia sect wants to become the alliance leader? Ji Shen of the Ji clan sighed helplessly. Yes, more than 40 sects from the 9 dynasties have gathered here. If everyone acts independently, we'll only get in one another's way. Xianxia sect proposed appointing a single alliance leader. They've sent 1 million disciples and 4 profound heart realm supreme elders. By strength alone, they have the strongest claim to leadership. 4 profound heart realm cultivators. That was genuinely terrifying. Before the Epiphyllum Cult's calamity, the integration realm had been regarded as the highest known realm in the 9 dynasties. Yet once disaster descended, Xianxia sect had somehow summoned 4 profound heart realm supreme elders back to the region. Not every sect that had come to reinforce the alliance possessed even one profound heart realm cultivator. And this was merely Xianxia Sect's expeditionary force. The sect almost certainly still had other profound heart realm experts remaining behind to protect its home territory, just as Tai Xuan Sect did. Tai Xuan Sect, by comparison, had only been able to send a single profound heart realm supreme elder. In terms of raw foundation, Tai Xuan Sect truly could not match Xianxia Sect. Jishen's words plunged the pavilion into silence. Many elders wanted to object, but none possessed enough confidence to do so. The Ji, Zhou, and Gu clans were the three great aristocratic families of the Tai Kang dynasty. But across all 9 dynasties, they might not even rank among the top 3 families. Lu Baitian drew a deep breath and stared at Jishen. What about your Ji clan ancestor? When is he coming? In a few days, most likely. But we only managed to locate one. Just like the sects, aristocratic families rarely kept profound heart realm cultivators at home. Experts at that level usually traveled far and wide searching for greater opportunities. Lu Baitian turned toward Zhou Yu. The senior members of my clan are currently tied up elsewhere, but the clan head is doing everything possible to persuade them. Within a month, we should be able to invite at least one profound heart realm elder. Lu Baitian frowned, displeasure rising in his heart. One of Xianxia Sect's 4 profound heart realm cultivators also bore the surname Zhou. His gaze shifted to pavilion elder Gu Guai. Gu Guai replied unhurriedly. Hard to say. The elders of my clan have eccentric temperaments. I cannot guarantee how many will come. But this concerns the survival of the 9 dynasties. The Gu clan cannot shirk its responsibility. Someone will certainly step forward. Lu Baitian smiled. And Hao watched the exchange from the side, secretly surprised. This was the first time he had truly witnessed the influence of the 3 great clans. Even someone as powerful as the sect master still had to compromise before them. Lu Baitian was domineering, but only toward those he could afford to dominate. He could suppress the entire Chu clan if necessary. Yet before the 3 great families, even he had to remain courteous. Below the profound heart realm, Lu Baitian was practically invincible. But because of the Epiphyllum Cult, the 9 dynasties had entered an era ruled by profound heart realm experts. Once I become sect master, every aristocratic clan will have to listen to me. And Hao silently swore to himself. In his view, the reason Lu Baitian was being forced into such an awkward position was simple. He was not strong enough. If An Hao became powerful enough, there would be no need to care what any faction thought. Wu Zhou, on the other hand, was not thinking nearly that far ahead. He was currently aligned with the Zhou clan, and to him this entire meeting simply felt noisy and tedious. If they did not destroy the Epiphyllum Cult soon, Tai Xuan Sect would only face greater danger. Just then, an elder hurried into the pavilion with a jade slip in hand. The sect is under attack by a profound heart realm cultivator from the Epiphyllum Cult. The moment he spoke, the entire pavilion erupted. And Hao frowned, immediately thinking of his younger sister Anjin. Wu Ju clenched his fists. He thought of Guan. Lu Baitian asked, how many profound heart realm attackers? 1. Only 1? That's all the intelligence we've received so far. Then it's fine. Even if Senior Kusong cannot defeat him, we still have Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Lu Baitian laughed loudly, and the tense atmosphere immediately eased. A female elder could not help murmuring, will Sword Venerable Fu Dao truly act? Fu Dao had helped Tai Xuan Sect several times already, but because his identity remained a mystery, many still did not dare assume he truly belonged to the sect, especially when the survival of the sect itself was at stake. Back at Tai Xuan Sect, beneath the violently churning thunderclouds, Venerable Qiqian and Ancestor Kusong were still locked in battle. Both wielded powerful artifacts and unleashed spell after spell. Their clashes were so violent that even the thunderclouds above twisted and surged in response. Venerable Qiqian, however, was growing increasingly puzzled. Why hasn't the Vice Cult Master acted yet? His cultivation was higher than Ancestor Kusong's, but both were in the profound heart realm. Killing the old man quickly was no simple matter. Worse, he had to remain constantly alert for Sword Venerable Fu Dao. As time passed, his earlier confidence slowly turned into unease. What are you waiting for? Ancestor Kusong swept his horsetail whisk. Vast spiritual power condensed into countless cyan beams that curved through the sky along different trajectories, converging on Venerable Qiqian from every direction and forcing him to evade. This was Ancestor Kusong's first true battle after entering the profound heart realm, and it was an exhausting one. Even so, he could tell that his opponent was wary of someone else. That fear kept Venerable Qiqian from fully concentrating on their duel. Ancestor Kusong naturally thought of the mysterious sword Venerable Fu Dao. Venerable Qiqian gave no answer. Instead, he abruptly changed direction and moved toward one of the outer cities. Ancestor Kusong followed closely behind. Meanwhile, in the Third Medicine Valley, Guan had changed into a clean set of robes and returned downstairs to Lu Lingjun's side. Lu Lingjun had once again entered a state of enlightenment. her right hand resting on the wooden railing. Seeing this, Guan placed his own hand on the railing as well. Even after reaching the Nirvana realm, Guan could not simply rewrite another person's destiny, but Lingjun had already placed half a foot into the profound heart realm on her own. Giving her a small push so she could break through sooner was still possible. Guided by Guan's mana, Lingjun's spiritual power gathered toward her heart. At the same time, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth silently began flowing into her body. Then Guan sensed something. He raised his head, frowned, and a trace of displeasure flashed through his eyes. Venerable Chiqian was approaching the third Medicine Valley, or, more precisely, the nearby outer city. Where is Sword Venerable Fu Dao? If you still refuse to appear, your fellow disciples will die inside your own sect. Venerable Chiqian's murderous voice echoed across Tai Xuan Sect and entered the ears of more than 1 million disciples. At the edge of the heaven-mending platform, Ye Lan stood guard with a group of law enforcement hall disciples. She looked up at the heavy thunderclouds rolling overhead. She could feel Venerable Chiqian drawing closer. That terrifying pressure grew stronger with every moment. Her grip tightened around the white spirit sword. Several thousand cultivators had gathered on the heaven-mending platform, yet only a small number still sat calmly in meditation. Great Yu's sword maniac Han Ming had already returned to his homeland. Zhuo Lin stood beside his father, Zhuo Yijian, and asked nervously, "Father, are we really not leaving?" Zhuo Yijian held a copy of Investiture of the Gods and replied calmly, "Where would we go? But trust Sword Venerable Fu Dao." Hearing that, Zhuo Lin almost wanted to curse. You trust Investiture of the Gods, not Sword Venerable Fu Dao. He genuinely wanted to tear the book out of his father's hands and rip it apart. Far away in the third Medicine Valley, Guan's divine sense had already enveloped the entire outer city. Then it locked onto one person. "You'll do." As though sensing his son's irritation, Zhuo Yijian calmly turned another page. "Liner, never panic when something happens. A sword cultivator must remain calm and unrestrained at all times." At that exact moment, a treasured sword lying beside him began trembling violently. Zhuo Yijian's gaze snapped toward it. A vast sword intent seeped from the blade, causing his heart to pound. "This is..." Zhuo Yijian began trembling with excitement. Whatever lecture he had intended to give his son vanished from his mind. Zhuo Lin quickly noticed the abnormality as well. The immense sword intent made both sword and sheath shake violently. Under his stunned gaze, the weapon slowly floated into the air. Zhuo Yijian rose to his feet and stared at his sword. He knew he could not be mistaken. This was Sword Venerable Fu Dao's sword intent. More and more cultivators on the heaven-mending platform began sensing it. Yilan felt it as well. She turned toward Zhuo Yijian in the distance, astonishment filling her face. Boom! The thunderclouds suddenly split apart. The outer city was flooded with daylight, as a violent gale descended from above, shaking buildings throughout the city. Low-level outer disciples and servants were forced to the ground. Everyone struggled to raise their heads and saw a massive opening appear in the thunderclouds overhead, more than 10 miles across. The storm clouds could no longer close. Sunlight poured through. High above, Venerable Chiqian and Ancestor Kusong continued exchanging attacks from 100 zhang apart. Each spell collision released violent winds, blinding flashes, and terrifying pressure. The outer city's protective barrier twisted wildly beneath the force, looking as though it could shatter at any moment. "Father! This!" Zhuo Lin stared at Zhuo Yijian in disbelief, his voice trembling. Could his father actually be the mysterious Sword Venerable Fu Dao? The same thought appeared in many other minds. That sword intent was simply too powerful. Venerable Chiqian sensed it as well. While exchanging attacks with Ancestor Kusong, he glanced downward and locked his eyes on Zhuo Yijian. His brow furrowed. Could that man be Sword Venerable Fu Dao? At that moment, Zhuo Yijian suddenly dropped to one knee. He stared at the treasured sword trembling before him and shouted, "Sword Venerable, please save our sect!" The moment his words fell, clang! The sound of a sword leaving its sheath tore through every other noise between heaven and earth. Venerable Chiqian immediately leapt away, rising above the thunderclouds and widening the distance between himself and Ancestor Kusong. Looking down toward the heaven-mending platform, he brought his 18 golden short blades together. They merged into a single long saber. A crazed smile spread across his face. "Sword Venerable Fu Dao, come out and show yourself. Let me see just how powerful you really are." His voice echoed throughout Tai Xuan Sect. He was not merely provoking Fu Dao. He was also sending a signal to the Vice Cult Master, urging her to act immediately. After all, Venerable Chiqian was at the 5th level of the Profound Heart Realm. Even if he could not defeat Sword Venerable Fu Dao, holding him back for a while should not have been difficult. Yet the only response he received was the scream of a sword cutting through the air. The instant Venerable Chiqian finished speaking, Zhuo Yijian's sword shot directly toward him. Terrifying sword intent erupted in a single instant and blasted everyone nearby backward. Everyone in the city saw a streak of icy light rise from the streets and pierce straight into the heavens, utterly unstoppable. As Zhuo Lin was hurled backward, he watched that beam of light tear through the sea of thunderclouds like a sword splitting heaven itself in two. His eyes shook with disbelief. Even Venerable Qiqian was frightened by the sword's sudden approach. Too fast, there was no time to dodge. He instinctively raised the massive saber in his hands, but the speed of his movement was pitiful compared with the incoming sword. Boom! The saber shattered. The instant the sword point reached him, the terrifying sword chi of the Taikong Divine Shocking Sword exploded. Venerable Qiqian's body was pulverized. One sword flashed past and he was gone. The blade tore through the cloud sea, leaving behind a magnificent sword scar across the heavens. A mighty profound heart realm cultivator had not even managed to release his primordial spirit, much less use his profound heart divine ability. The difference between them was simply too vast. Venerable Qiqian had possessed no power to resist. Ancestor Kusong floated motionless in the sky, robes snapping in the wind and white hair in disarray. He stared in the direction the sword had vanished, mouth slightly open, unable to maintain his composure. Having personally fought Venerable Qiqian, he knew exactly how terrifying that demonic cultivator was. The man had felt almost unfathomable. Yet such an existence had just been killed by Sword Venerable Fu Dao with a single strike, and from beginning to end, Sword Venerable Fu Dao had never even appeared. Whoosh! The sound of tearing air came again. The treasured sword curved back from the horizon in a perfect arc before descending toward the heaven-mending platform. Clang! Its point pierced the stone platform. Sparks flew as the blade trembled violently, leaving afterimages in the air. Zhuo Yijian lay on the ground, staring at his own sword, unable to close his mouth. The entire city had fallen silent. Far away in the Third Medicine Valley, the corner of Guan's mouth lifted. A lifespan notification appeared before his eyes, confirming that Venerable Qiqian was truly dead. Guan turned toward Tai Xuan Sect's main city. The fighting there was still continuing, but he had no intention of interfering. He had already acted twice today. If he acted again, that would make 3. Tai Xuan Sect needed to experience some of this calamity for itself. Before long, earth-shaking cheers erupted from the outer city. Even the servant disciples in the Third Medicine Valley could hear them from afar. They could not make out what was being shouted, however, so they only grew more nervous. Guan remained beside Lu Lingjun, keeping other disciples from disturbing her enlightenment. Back in the outer city, more and more people rushed onto the heaven-mending platform. Ancestor Kusong descended from the sky and landed in the middle of the crowd, directly before Zhuo Yijian. By now, Zhuo Yijian had seized his sword with both hands. He did not want to sheath it. He certainly did not want to hand it to anyone else. "Young friend, could you let this old man take a look at that sword?" Ancestor Kusong asked with a gentle smile. Zhuo Yijian stared at him like a man guarding against a thief and said nothing. "Wait, the sword intent beneath our feet is growing stronger!" An old man suddenly cried out. Everyone looked down. Within the 2 carved characters meaning righteous Dao, sword intent was flowing like an invisible current. When the sword had returned moments earlier, a portion of Guan's sword intent had entered those characters as well, strengthening the sword intent already sealed within them. It could be considered another layer of deterrence left behind by Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Ancestor Kusong turned around and looked at the words. As he sensed the sword intent flowing through the carvings, he slowly closed his eyes. Zhuo Yijian quietly stepped backward. Then he transmitted his voice to Zhuo Lin. "Liner, bring your father's investiture of the god's sword back." Faraway Yilan remained at the edge of the heaven-mending platform. The law enforcement hall disciples around her were excitedly discussing Sword Venerable Fu Dao's overwhelming strength. Yilan, however, was thinking about Guan. With such a powerful figure supporting him, senior brother should be safe, right? The sun set. The moon rose. Then the moon fell, and another morning came. Only after an entire day and night did the battle, Tai Xuan Sect's main city, finally come to an end. Early the next morning, after morning exercises, Guan and Xiaoshuan stood guard on opposite sides of Lu Lingjun. Xiaoshuan leaned against the railing 5 steps away and asked curiously, "Senior brother, what exactly is she doing?" The disciples had all noticed Lu Lingjun's strange state, but Guan had forbidden anyone from disturbing her, allowing her to remain undisturbed throughout the entire night. Guan guessed aloud, "Maybe she's cultivating some strange secret art. She's a grand cultivator. Her realm is far beyond what people like us can understand." "What kind of cultivation technique lets someone stand completely still all night?" Xiaoshuan asked. "It's not a cultivation technique," Lu Lingjun suddenly spoke. "I simply understood." Xiaoshuan froze, then immediately stumbled several steps backward. Lu Lingjun ignored him and glanced at Guan. Guan also stepped away and quickly winked at Xiaoshuan. Xiaoshuan understood at once and ran off. Guan asked with concern. Are you all right? Very well, thank you for guarding me all this time, Lingjun replied calmly. Guan pretended to let out a relieved breath. Then you should go rest. You've been standing here all day and night. You must be exhausted. Lingjun suddenly stepped closer. I just remembered something. Yesterday when we came back, did you hold my hand? At the time, she had been immersed in the afterglow of enlightenment and had not even shaken him off. Now that she remembered it, the entire situation felt absurd. Guan coughed awkwardly. I was frightened at the time. Don't take it personally. No man has ever held my hand before. Lingjun stared at him with a mournful expression. Ha! You expect me to believe that? You've lived for 2,000 years and still want to play the innocent maiden with me? Guan immediately put on a serious expression. What? Is the Valley Master not allowed to touch your hand? He had just saved Lingjun from wasting another 100 years on a detour. Surely touching her hand once was not asking too much. Lingjun's lips curved into a smile, alluring and full of hidden meaning. Of course you can. In that case, from today onward, you're mine. Without waiting for Guan to respond, she turned and walked away. Guan froze, then hurried after her. Miss Lu, I was only joking. Don't take it seriously. Once some time has passed, I'll speak with the sect master and ask him to transfer you somewhere else. Too late. Lingjun pushed him aside and continued walking. Guan's heart sank. This time, he was the one who had suffered a loss. Oh right, I'm planning to undergo my tribulation above the Medicine Valley. What do you think? Lingjun stopped with her back toward him. Guan frowned. Crossing a tribulation requires a great deal of preparation. Why not wait for the sect master to return? I can ask him to arrange a proper tribulation site for you. I can't wait any longer. Your connections inside Tai Xuan Sect are strong enough. If anyone comes to question it, explain things for me. Don't worry, I won't damage your medicinal herbs. With that, she shot into the sky and rose 1,000 zhang above the valley. A cyan lotus flew from her sleeve and rapidly expanded. Lingjun stepped into the lotus and sat cross-legged within it. The servant disciples below cried out in surprise. Xiaochuan hurried over to Guan. What is she doing? Guan raised his head. She wants to undergo a heavenly tribulation. Before his eyes, Lingjun repeatedly waved her hands. Artifacts flew out one after another and surrounded her, quickly forming layer upon layer of defensive formations. Guan's interest immediately rose. He also wanted to see just how terrifying the heavenly tribulation of the profound heart realm would be. A tribulation? Xiaochuan stared blankly at Lingjun high in the sky. Meanwhile, inside the Six Paths Great Ascension Formation in Wanji Forest, the 7 venerables sat in a circle. A mass of black flame suddenly appeared between them. They opened their eyes in surprise and immediately rose to salute it. Greetings, Cult Master! The 7 spoke in unison, drawing glances from the nearby cultists arranging the sacrifices. Every sacrifice was a living person. Talismans had been pasted onto their bodies, rendering them unable to move, while the formation sealed every possible escape route. Terror covered their faces. Some had already fainted. Where is the Vice Cult Master? The weary voice of Jing Tuxian, Cult Master of the Epiphyllum Cult, came from within the black flames. A masked old man answered. She still hasn't returned. The assault on Tai Xuan Sect also failed. 70% of our spies inside the sect were lost. According to the reports, Venerable Chiqian was killed by Sword Venerable Fu Dao with a single strike, but the Vice Cult Master never appeared. We don't know where she went. His tone grew heavy as he spoke. The floating black flames paused for a brief moment. The other 6 venerables lowered their heads, expressions shifting. After the battle at Tai Xuan Sect, their fear of Sword Venerable Fu Dao had deepened considerably. The masked elder continued. The main branch has also lost nearly 20% of its forces during this period, including 17 Integration Realm cultivators. We cannot confirm whether the Vice Cult Master is alive or dead. Cult Master, do you have a reliable method to determine her condition? Jing Tuxian's voice came from the black flames. The Vice Cult Master has always acted freely. Even I do not know her whereabouts at all times, but she cannot possibly be dead unless a Great Ascension Realm cultivator has appeared in the 9 Dynasties. And even if a Great Ascension Realm expert attempted to kill her, the disturbance would have been enormous. Have any of you sensed battle pressure beyond the profound heart realm? No, the masked elder replied. But her sudden disappearance still forces us to consider the possibility. Relax. Something may simply have delayed her. She could not have died without leaving the slightest trace. Besides, I have already placed the curse upon myself. There is no turning back for me now. Continue gathering sacrifices. The more, the better. This time, I intend to glimpse heavenly fate itself. Jing Tuxian's voice faded. The 7 venerables answered together, yes, Shintang Dynasty, 3 Pure Mountain. The sect praised throughout the dynasty as a dwelling place of immortals was hidden among an immense lake. Magnificent mountain ranges rose from the waters, yet only their highest peaks could be seen through the mist, appearing and disappearing like mirages. Beneath an ancient tree, Li Ya sat cross-legged with his back against a cliff. The North Sea heavy sword stood beside him. His hands rested on his knees as he stared at a chessboard on the ground, irritation written across his face. He let out a long sigh and rubbed his scalp. At that moment, a spiritual figure descended from the tree. It was the soul of the Li clan ancestor. His spirit looked far more solid than before. Ha ha ha, boy, I told you long ago that 3 Pure Mountains trial would be difficult. It requires true wisdom. Your comprehension still isn't enough. You're far below me. Back then, I solved this chess formation in only 3 years. Looking at you, I doubt you'll manage it even in 10. The Li clan ancestor laughed with obvious delight. Li Ya glared at him. What kind of ancestor are you? Why are you so happy that your descendant is worse than you? I refuse to believe I'm truly inferior. The ancestor laughed even louder. My master once divined that the Li clan would produce a child of heavenly fate who could help me escape my calamity. I originally thought that person was you. But now, perhaps it's someone else entirely. Boy, why don't you stop cultivating? Go down the mountain, marry a wife, and have some children. Maybe you'll give birth to the child of heavenly fate sooner. Li Ya shot to his feet in fury and grabbed the North Sea heavy sword, preparing to swing it at the old ancestor. What trouble are you grandfather and grandson causing now? An aged voice drifted over. Li Ya turned. A figure walked out from the clouds, a green-robed Taoist with white hair and a youthful face. The horsetail whisk in his hand seemed woven from strands of cloud, and his entire presence carried an immortal air. Li Ya immediately bowed. Disciple grandson greets grandmaster. The Li clan ancestor also bowed. Greetings, master. This green-robed Taoist was known as Taoist Tianshu. With his immortal bearing, he truly looked like a living true immortal. Taoist Tianshu landed on the cliff and smiled. Who said the child of heavenly fate hasn't been born yet? I made a divination recently. The fortune of the Li clan has already begun to rise. That means the one you are waiting for has already appeared. The Li clan ancestor laughed. Disciple was only teasing the boy. He's arrogant and reckless. His temperament needs to be tempered properly, or he'll cause me trouble again once he leaves the mountain. Taoist Tianshu flicked his horsetail whisk. The chessboard on the ground instantly turned to ash and dispersed into smoke. Li Ya frowned. Grandmaster, what are you doing? Panic rose in his heart. Could even his grandmaster have decided he lacked the wisdom to pass the trial? Taoist Tianshu smiled. The calamity of the 9 Dynasties has descended, and it grows more dangerous by the day. Even 3 Pure Mountain may be destroyed. There is no longer time to continue testing you. All 3 lineages of 3 Pure Mountain must descend from the mountain to save the world. Before we leave, I will teach you one of our mountain-protecting divine abilities. If 3 Pure Mountain is destroyed, then perhaps one day you will be the one to continue our Taoist inheritance. Descend from the mountain? Li Ya and the Li clan ancestor both changed expressions. Grandmaster, please teach me. I want to join the battle as well, Li Ya immediately said. Taoist Tianshu shook his head. Your cultivation is too low. You cannot affect this calamity. If we fail, someone from the mountain will naturally take you away from the 9 Dynasties and send you to a distant world where you can survive. This continent originally belonged to the demon race. Our sect has occupied a place here for many years. Perhaps our allotted time beneath heavenly fate has finally come. He stroked his beard with a faint smile. There was not the slightest worry on his face, as though he had long since seen through the dust of the mortal world. But, no buts. Listen. Li Ya fell silent, his face filled with conflict. Taoist Tianshu smiled. Is there someone you are worried about? The Li clan ancestor teased. He's worried about that junior brother Gu of his. Taoist Tianshu spoke softly. In this life, if a person can control his own destiny, that alone is transcendence. Do what you can, but do not force what lies beyond your reach. Li Ya remained silent. Tai Xuan Sect, 3rd Medicine Valley. The world had grown dim. Disciples gathered throughout the valley, staring upward at the magnificent scene in the heavens. Guan watched as well. Bolts of heavenly lightning fell one after another, all striking the same point. That was where Lingjun's formations were gathered. Golden lightning descended like ancient azure dragons, forcing the formations to erupt continuously with crimson radiance that swept across the horizon. Many Tai Xuan Sect cultivators stood upon the mountains surrounding the 3rd Medicine Valley. There were disciples and elders alike. Even the weakest among them had core formation realm cultivation. They stared at Lingjun's tribulation and discussed it excitedly. At its widest, the tribulation covered nearly 100 miles. The region of thunderclouds from which heavenly lightning descended glowed crimson, resembling an enormous eye of heaven. Before that celestial eye, the 3rd Medicine Valley looked almost insignificant. Fortunately, every bolt was focused on Lingjun, otherwise, the valley itself would have suffered devastating destruction. Guzong stood beside Guan and sighed. The profound heart realm truly is wondrous beyond description. Merely watching her undergo this tribulation has given me many insights. Lingjun had already been enduring the tribulation for 3 days. The heavenly might had been strongest yesterday. Today it had weakened considerably. Even so, every bolt descending now still contained enough power to kill an Integration Realm cultivator. Looking upward, powerful Integration Realm cultivators stood guard in every direction. Once Tai Xuan Sect learned that Lingjun was one of its inner elders, the higher-ups had been overjoyed and even helped reinforce her formations. Whenever one of the defensive layers showed signs of collapsing, the Integration Realm elders intervened, pouring their spiritual power into it. Watching them, Guan gained a deeper appreciation for Tai Xuan Sect's unity. There had been people who doubted Lingjun's identity at first. Those doubts only disappeared when Guzong pointed out that even if she were secretly a demonic cultivator, she would still be no match for Sword Venerable Fu Dao after successfully breaking through. That ended the discussion immediately. Guan sighed as well. Who would have imagined that a servant disciple the sect master casually found for me would actually be hiding such terrifying cultivation? I truly must have accumulated fortune across 3 lifetimes. Guzong laughed. Perhaps you possess extraordinary luck. After all, you wrote Investiture of the Gods. Who knows? Maybe you're the reincarnation of some enlightened supreme expert, and that book is simply a memory from your previous life. Guan rolled his eyes. This old man really knew how to imagine things. I really do have a previous life. In that life, I was a proud descendant of Yan Huang. Guzong had only been joking. Even so, he remained deeply curious that a profound heart realm cultivator could emerge from Guan's Medicine Valley. Cultivators believed strongly in fate and fortune. The more mysterious something seemed, the easier it was for them to believe. Guzong thought of the Shenzhou scripture Guan had once given to the 10 talented disciples. Perhaps he should come here to temper his heart as well. Guan returned his attention to Lingjun. Her profound heart had already formed. In truth, her breakthrough could now be considered successful. All that remained was for her cultivation to complete its transformation. Guan sighed inwardly. Crossing a heavenly tribulation really is difficult. Without all those formations and pills, he doubted even a 9th-level Integration Realm cultivator could survive this process. A 9th-level Integration Realm cultivator certainly possessed vast spiritual power, enough to resist heavenly lightning, but the consumption was equally enormous. Guan had not bothered calculating how many pills Lingjun had used, but the number was undoubtedly staggering. There had even been moments when Guan nearly intervened. Lingjun had come dangerously close to collapse several times, and had not even had enough time to swallow another pill. Fortunately, Tai Xuan Sect's Integration Realm experts had acted in time. More than 20 Integration Realm elders, together with Ancestor Kusong of the Profound Heart Realm, had joined forces to stabilize Lingjun. Once the most dangerous stage of the tribulation passed, Ancestor Kusong quietly left at dawn. Guan did not know whether it was his imagination, but the old man's departing back seemed strangely lonely. It seems her tribulation is basically over. I should leave as well. Guzong continued. Once her cultivation stabilizes, build a good relationship with her. Do your best to keep her in the Medicine Valley until the sect master returns and decides what to do. With that, he departed. He first flew into the sky and transmitted a few instructions to the other Integration Realm elders, then left the valley entirely. Although Guzong himself was only in the Void-Crossing Realm, his status within the sect was extremely high. First, he had the Gu clan behind him. Second, he managed a great deal of the sect's actual authority. That responsibility had also delayed his cultivation. By the time cultivators reached the Integration Realm, most of them became hands-off elders. They spent the majority of their time in secluded cultivation rather than managing sect affairs. Guan looked toward a nearby slope. Shenzhen was painting Lingjun's tribulation. She really was looking for death. She even dared to offend a Profound Heart Realm Grand Cultivator. 2 days later, the Thunder Tribulation finally dispersed completely. Lingjun had succeeded. She had officially entered the Profound Heart Realm. After she withdrew her formations, a group of Tai Xuan Sect's Integration Realm experts flew over to greet her. Lingjun was genuinely grateful for their help and treated them humbly. Her attitude pleased the elders greatly, and many of them were deeply moved. Tai Xuan Sect had gained another Profound Heart Realm cultivator. At a time like this, no less. Heaven truly favored Tai Xuan Sect. A long while later, Lingjun finally escaped the endless congratulations. She flew down toward the Medicine Valley and immediately saw Shenzhen pestering Guan. The moment Shenzhen noticed Lingjun descending, she stuffed the painting into her storage pouch. Lingjun landed in front of them and looked at Shenzhen. Were you painting me during my tribulation? Guan hurriedly stepped in. This is Shenzhen, saintess of the Dao Heaven cult. She meant no disrespect. She was simply impressed by your power. The important part was Dao Heaven Cult. Lu Lingjun saw how familiar Xianxia seemed with Guan and said unhappily, "Miss Shen, from now on, please maintain a proper distance from Guan." Xianxia blinked in surprise. "Why? Don't tell me even a grand cultivator like you has feelings for him?" Lu Lingjun did not answer. She merely stared at her calmly. Xianxia grew curious. "You've really never heard about Guan before?" Guan immediately interrupted. "This is all your fault. You used my name in that ridiculous book and ruined my reputation." Lu Lingjun had already read Tai Xuan's Secret Chronicles and had even suspected Guan because of it. So Guan struck first and exposed the matter before Xianxia could twist it further. Xianxia was not angry. "What do you mean I ruined your reputation? Didn't you benefit from it too?" Lu Lingjun's gaze toward Guan became rather strange. Guan felt as though she were silently calling him greedy. Xianxia added, "Senior, Guan truly isn't simple. He's Panon, the author of Investiture of the Gods. You should keep an eye on him. There are quite a few women who admire him." With that, she cupped her hands toward Lu Lingjun and walked away. Guan's heart sank. This is bad. Lu Lingjun ignored Xianxia entirely. Her bright eyes locked onto Guan. "You're really Panon?" It took Guan a long while to finally persuade Lu Lingjun to leave. Of course, there was another reason as well. She needed time to stabilize herself after entering the profound heart realm. Guan was deeply uneasy. Now that Lu Lingjun knew he was Panon, would she become even more troublesome? He remembered that whenever she had free time, she loved reading Investiture of the Gods. Afterward, news of Lu Lingjun spread throughout Tai Xuan Sect, sending the disciples into a frenzy of excitement. Just the words profound heart realm were enough to raise the morale of the entire sect. The news quickly reached the Nine Dynasty as well. Every Tai Xuan Sect cultivator stationed at the main camp became excited. By now, they had experienced the terror of the profound heart realm firsthand. It was no exaggeration to say that the decisive factor on the battlefield had become profound heart realm cultivators alone. No matter how many integration realm cultivators gathered together, they could not truly contend with a profound heart realm expert. Lu Baitian was delighted. He immediately announced that he had personally recruited Lu Lingjun into Tai Xuan Sect. That explanation also reassured the higher-ups, who had never heard of her before. For a mysterious profound heart realm grand cultivator to suddenly appear at such a critical moment would naturally make those in power suspicious. They quickly began requesting that Lu Baitian send Lu Lingjun to the battlefield. With only ancestor Xuanquan fighting on its behalf, Tai Xuan Sect's contribution to the war had seemed surprisingly weak. Within the alliance of the Nine Dynasties, the sect's influence could barely enter the top 5. For a sect that had recently hosted the Golden Ranking Tournament, that was humiliating. Lu Baitian temporarily rejected those requests. Lu Lingjun needed time to consolidate her new realm. After that, under Xianxia Sect's leadership, the sects of the Nine Dynasties repeatedly attacked Wanji Forest. Grand cultivators fought at the front. Mid-level cultivators attempted to rescue captured prisoners. Low-level disciples maintained supplies and reinforcement lines. Yet no matter how fiercely the Nine Dynasties attacked, they could not break into the Epiphyllum Cult's 6 Paths Great Ascension formation. News of the battle continued spreading. More and more people across the world came to realize that the great calamity of the Nine Dynasties had truly arrived. This was no longer a conflict between a few sects. It threatened everyone. By autumn, Lu Lingjun had already been in seclusion for a month. Guan did not disturb her. He continued moving between his various medicine valleys. Nianshu Cave Abode had also begun operating smoothly, and Tian Yaoer was becoming increasingly capable. Guan had not visited Nianshu Cave Abode in 6 days. One day Guzong came to see him. He asked Guan to tell Lu Lingjun that once she emerged from seclusion, she should immediately go reinforce Wanji Forest. Guan agreed. The battlefield there was becoming increasingly severe. Using his divine sense, Guan could see that a massive battle was still underway. In every direction, hundreds of thousands of cultivators maintained formations. Their collective power shook heaven and earth. Even the spiritual energy of the entire Taikan dynasty was being drawn toward Wanji Forest. The fighting was unbelievably brutal. Guan watched for a while, then withdrew his divine sense. The number of sacrifices was still increasing. They were clearly being prepared for the Great Ascension Realm cultivator behind the cult. Fairy Baihe's death had evidently done nothing to alter that person's plans. Guan continued inspecting the third Medicine Valley. Only near dusk did Lu Lingjun finally emerge from her courtyard and enter Guan's pavilion. Guan passed along Guzong's request. Whether Lu Lingjun chose to go was entirely up to her. As a profound heart realm cultivator, no ordinary sect elder could command her anymore. I already heard about it. I'll leave shortly. Lu Lingjun nodded. Her expression was cold and proud. Perhaps this was closer to her true personality. She might once have been the strongest cultivator in her lower realm. Now that she no longer needed to hide her cultivation, she no longer bothered disguising her nature either. Guan looked at her, wondering why she had not already left. Lu Ling just stared back. I can sense many profound heart realm auras in Wanji Forest. There's even one presence that makes my heart race. This trip may be far more dangerous than fortunate. Her eyes were beautiful, but they also carried the depth of someone tempered by countless years. The way she stared at Guan inexplicably made him feel guilty. Guan said, "Do what you can. If the situation cannot be saved, protect yourself first." The corner of Lu Lingjun's lips rose. Naturally, I won't throw my life away for Tai Xuan Sect, but I'm about to enter an extremely dangerous war. Don't you have anything else to say to me? Guan coughed and straightened his expression. Miss Lu, when I held your hand before, it truly was an accident. Don't think too much about it. Matters between men and women cannot be decided carelessly. Two people need genuine feelings before committing their lives to each other. You cannot decide to stay together simply because your hands happen to touch. He paused. And I'll tell you the truth. I didn't write Investiture of the Gods. I merely heard the story from a Taoist named Xu Zhonglin. Lingjun smiled. If someone else truly wrote it, then why have you, Panon, spent more than 10 years enjoying the fame? Guan was speechless. What was he supposed to say? That the original author didn't exist in this world? Lu Lingjun continued. Whether you truly wrote Investiture of the Gods isn't important. After living with you for so many years, I know your character isn't bad. You're greedy, yes, but only when both sides are willing. You treat others politely. You don't grovel before those above you, and you don't act arrogantly toward those beneath you. Lu Lingjun began listing Guan's virtues. Listening to her, even Guan started feeling a little proud. Am I really that good? Then Lu Lingjun changed the subject. Everything about you is good except your cultivation. If you want to become my Tao companion, first reach the Void Crossing realm. Until then, I'll keep watching you. Once you reach that realm, I have a cultivation method I've never tried before. We can cultivate it together. Cultivate together? Images from Tai Xuan Secret Chronicles immediately flashed through Guan's mind. Heat surged through him. Not good. Is she trying to destroy my Tao heart? Guan looked at Lu Lingjun again. Her smile suddenly seemed incredibly sinister. A 2,000-year-old woman wants to seduce a 70-year-old young man like me? You'd better forget it, Guan said solemnly. In this lifetime, I probably have no hope of ever reaching the Void Crossing realm. Lu Lingjun laughed softly and stood. She placed her right hand on the table, leaving behind a ring set with a crimson gemstone. This is the Twin Hearts ring. Refine it. If you encounter danger in the future, I'll immediately sense it. Perhaps I'll be able to save your little life. Before Guan could reply, she vanished from the room. Guan stared silently at the Twin Hearts ring on the table. Then his gaze drifted toward the Qinghong sword lying nearby. For some reason, the situation felt strangely familiar. Damn heavenly Tao. Why does it keep arranging women to become interested in me? Is it afraid my life is too peaceful? A night passed. At noon the next day, Guan arrived at Tianya Valley. Only Luohun remained there. Guan found him and asked where Lu Xian and Yi Liu Yun had gone. They followed His Majesty on the expedition to the Nine Dynasty, Luohun replied. His Majesty said that when the world faces disaster, he is the emperor and must contribute his share. Respect filled Luohun's expression. If Li Xuandao had not ordered him to remain behind and guard the valley, he would have gone to the battlefield as well. Guan had not expected Li Xuandao to possess such a sense of responsibility. He did not comment. He simply nodded and walked toward the medicinal gardens. Another half-month passed. One day, Guan stood beside the window of his pavilion in Xuan Valley and extended his divine sense toward Wanji Forest. Lu Lingjun was fighting a Profound Heart Realm cultivator. Several other battles between Profound Heart Realm experts were taking place nearby. Mountains within a 1,000-mile radius had already been reduced to ruins. Dust filled the sky. Bones and corpses littered the earth as far as the eye could see. Yet the Great Ascension Realm cultivator still had not appeared. Guan refused to believe the man could hide forever. If that mysterious sacrificial formation activated and the enemy still did not emerge, Guan would have no choice but to intervene. He could not allow the cultivators of the Nine Dynasties to be slaughtered completely. After all, the demon calamity still awaited them in the future. Guan shifted his attention toward the road of the Nine Netherworlds. It had once again become territory of the Epiphyllum Cult. For 1,000 miles around the entrance, Epiphyllum flowers could be seen everywhere. Once he dealt with the cult master, those flowers would make a fine harvest. This time, he intended to tear the Epiphyllum Cult out by the roots. He would not give them another chance to return. Inside the Six Paths Great Ascension Formation in Wanji Forest, all 7 Epiphyllum Cult venerables opened their eyes at the same time. Cruel light filled their gazes. The masked elder leading them rose first. Everyone, the auspicious hour has arrived. Prepare to activate the formation and welcome the cult master. He stood. The other 6 rose with him. Finally, I've heard the Tai Xuan dynasty is protected by a divine beast called the Chen Snake. I wonder whether this sacrifice will finally disturb it. Just another vague legend. So many people have already died, yet the Chen snake has never appeared. To be honest, I'm relieved that Sword Venerable Fu Dao hasn't shown himself. It seems he fears us greatly. He protects Tai Xuan Sect only because our presence threatens his own safety. Even without us, the Nine Dynasties are destined to face annihilation. A grand cultivator like him seeks longevity. To live forever, one first has to survive. Naturally, he would never willingly place himself in mortal danger. Their voices were relaxed. In their eyes, everything they had planned was finally about to succeed. The seven stepped backward and began forming hand seals. Rumble. The earth beneath them split apart. Massive roots burst from underground. The venerables stepped onto the roots and rose into the sky, distancing themselves from the ground. At that same moment, every grand cultivator fighting in the distance sensed an aura that made their hearts pound. Lu Baitian turned sharply, his brow furrowed. The Epiphyllum tree! But this Epiphyllum tree was far more terrifying than the one that had appeared near the road of the Nine Netherworlds. Its aura seemed to rise from the deepest yellow springs of the Nine Netherworlds themselves. Everyone who sensed it felt fear. Across the ground below, countless human prisoners stared upward in horror as a colossal tree continued rising toward the heavens. A single leaf was larger than many of them. More than 10,000 miles away, Lingjun held a sword in each hand. A long golden ribbon twisted around her body like a wandering dragon. She turned toward the distant horizon. Even from here, she could see the silhouette of the mother epiphyllum tree. A tiny snake poked its head out from her hair and flicked its tongue. That aura is terrifying. This is no joke. We've fought long enough. The debt of gratitude is repaid. Time to run. The tiny snake was none other than the White Spirit Demon Emperor, the demon who had ascended with Lingjun. It had cultivation at the 8th level of the Integration Realm, several hundred zhang away. An Epiphyllum Cult Profound Heart Realm cultivator was trapped inside Lingjun's formation. While resisting its suppression, he laughed wildly. Thinking of escape? Too late! Prepare to welcome the descent of an immortal. An immortal? Lingjun frowned. Even the White Spirit Demon Emperor was startled. It looked at the trapped cultivator and shouted, "If your cult has an immortal, why haven't you conquered the 9 dynasties already?" The Profound Heart Realm cultivator only smiled. He offered no explanation and began putting all his strength into breaking the formation. Profound Heart Realm cultivators fighting in other directions also began stopping. The experts of the 9 dynasties stared fearfully toward the mother epiphyllum tree. Those on the Epiphyllum Cult side, however, became excited, as though victory were already theirs. The mother epiphyllum tree rose completely from the earth. Gigantic branches spread outward in every direction. Leaves rapidly grew across them until the entire Wanji forest lay beneath its crown. The canopy covered nearly 1,000 miles. The trunk itself resembled an enormous mountain. Then a horrifying human face appeared on the trunk. There was no head, only distorted features emerging from the bark. Its greedy, cruel smile made the prisoners below feel as though their hearts might burst from terror. Countless people fainted on the spot. Talismans covered their bodies and prevented them from speaking. That inability to scream only intensified the fear trapped inside them. The instant the mother epiphyllum tree revealed its human face, the grand cultivators of the 9 dynasties went mad. Everyone, we cannot retreat any longer. Think of your children. Think of your disciples and descendants. If we lose today, there will be nowhere left on this land for humanity to live. A powerful voice thundered across heaven and earth. The words had barely faded when a brilliant beam of golden light shot from the horizon. It charged forward with unstoppable momentum. 4 Epiphyllum Cult Profound Heart Realm cultivators appeared in the sky and cast spells together, attempting to block it. Just before the two sides collided, the golden light split into countless beams and surged onward. Then a vast cyan river came crashing from behind. A black-robed man stood atop its rushing current, gripping a monk's staff. Boundless spiritual power rolled around him like storm-driven waves. Grand cultivators charged from other directions as well, unleashing magnificent divine abilities. Every Profound Heart Realm cultivator on the side of the 9 dynasties attacked with full force. They were determined to reach the mother epiphyllum tree. Lu Baitian raised a great banner high above his head. Below him, 100,000 inner disciples simultaneously summoned their artifacts. They moved rapidly through shifting formations. Long dragons of spiritual power rose into the sky. Some burned with fire. Others were formed from ice. The twin dragons spiraled around one another, their roars shaking heaven and earth. Lingjun rode through the sky atop a giant white serpent. She released the twin swords from her hands, then drew a massive bow. The bowstring curved like a full moon. Spiritual power gathered into an arrow. The surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged violently toward that arrow, causing its aura to climb higher and higher. Blinding light erupted around Lingjun's right hand as she held the string fully drawn. From another direction, Taoist Tianshu of Three Pure Mountain led more than 10 Taoists toward Wanji Forest. And so began a battle far greater than anything that had come before. Boom! Inside Xuan Valley, Guan stood atop a mountain and heard the distant explosion. Chu Jingfeng stood beside him. He was so anxious that he could no longer remain calm. That disturbance, Chu Jingfeng frowned. The sound had traveled from an unimaginable distance. It immediately made him think of Wanji Forest in the Tai Xuan Dynasty. The war there had already spread throughout the cultivation world. Whenever servant disciples returned from visiting the outer sect, they brought back new stories about the fighting. The battle had lasted for a long time already. For such a terrifying disturbance to suddenly erupt now, it was difficult to imagine what had happened. Black clouds began gathering across the sky. They rolled forward with ferocious momentum, as though intending to swallow the heavens. Guan looked into the distance. The moment that determines whether the Nine Dynasties live or die has arrived. Unfortunately, brothers like us can do nothing. All we can do is pray that heaven stands with the righteous path. Chu Jingfeng drew a deep breath. Senior brother, what realm must someone reach before they can save all living beings by themselves? Guan glanced at him and smiled. What, you still have dreams like that? Sword Venerable Fu Dao has saved Tai Xuan Sect by himself again and again. As a sword cultivator, of course he is someone I want to become. But the longer I cultivate, the more I realize that my talent and comprehension are painfully ordinary. Chu Jingfeng stared into the distance, his gaze growing unfocused. Guan smiled. Since you understand that, then cultivate the Dao evolution art I gave you properly. The technique came from Thousand Autumn Pavilion. I haven't managed to master it myself, but I believe you can. I hope that one day, you can see the mortal world 1,000 years from now in my place. Chu Jingfeng turned to him with a frown. You always tell me not to abandon hope. Why have you given up on yourself? Guan turned away and patted him on the shoulder without answering. Then he began walking down the mountain. Chu Jingfeng could not help calling after him. Where are you going? If tomorrow is the end of the world, I want to spend today with the medicinal herbs I love most. Guan left those words behind and disappeared into the forest. Chu Jingfeng froze. A bitter smile appeared on his face. Compared with senior brother Gu, perhaps I really am worrying about things beyond my station. He turned back toward the horizon. At that moment, a powerful wind swept toward the mountain. His robes whipped around him, forcing him to narrow his eyes. The wind had risen. Guan made a slow circuit around Xuan Valley before returning to his pavilion. He closed the door, activated the room's restrictions, and extended his divine sense toward Wanji Forest. He immediately sensed spatial fluctuations within the mother epiphyllum tree. They were extremely subtle. The only reason he noticed them was because a new and unfamiliar aura had appeared inside the tree. Great Ascension Realm. Guan had spent years in that realm. He knew its aura far too well. Finally, he's coming. At that exact moment, Guan felt someone calling him again. He carefully focused on the sensation. Taoist Xianxia. Again? Had that fool learned nothing? Far away in the North Sea Mountains, Taoist Xianxia entered the same forest where he had once met the mountain god. He knelt on the ground and repeatedly kowtowed. A long time passed. He no longer knew how many times his forehead had struck the earth. Then the mountain god's voice entered his ears. His entire body stiffened. Hey brat, what trouble are you bringing me this time? Do you really possess enough treasures to keep offering them to me? Taoist Xianxia looked up. The mountain god was crouching on a tree branch, head tilted as he stared down at him. Taoist Xianxia hurriedly said, The 9 Dynasties are about to face annihilation. If every mortal in the 9 Dynasties dies and demons invade afterward, there will be no one left to worship you. Who told you only humans can worship me? And who told you I protect only humanity? Taoist Xianxia froze. He suddenly had no idea how to answer. Guan continued. It isn't impossible for me to act. However what? What do you want? Taoist Xianxia asked urgently. Guan's voice immediately turned cold. I want you to become my servant forever. You will build my Taoist temple. You will guard it for me. For the rest of your life, you will have no freedom. Taoist Xianxia's expression changed drastically. He fell silent. Guan had come here because he intended to destroy the Epiphyllum Cult's Great Ascension Realm expert under the identity of the mountain god. He had originally wanted to act as Sword Venerable Fu Dao, but if he killed an enemy this powerful under Fu Dao's identity, Tai Xuan Sect could become entangled in even greater karma afterward. So Guan decided that this time, the mountain god would act instead. The situation was different from before. The Great Ascension Realm cultivator hidden within the mother epiphyllum tree was already close to the 9th level. His aura was vast beyond comparison with any enemy Guan had previously faced. Killing such a powerful existence would have enormous consequences. The mountain god, however, was mysterious and impossible to trace. Even if the Epiphyllum Cult still had some hidden backer, they would have to think carefully before seeking revenge against a being they could not locate. Guan wanted no endless chain of trouble. Sword Venerable Fu Dao protected Tai Xuan Sect. The mountain god protected the living beings of the Nine Dynasties. As for taking Taoist Xuanmiao as a servant, Guan had two reasons. First, it would punish the man for repeatedly exposing the mountain god's existence. Second, Guan wanted him to open another medicinal garden. Taoist Xianmiao had ranked second on the golden ranking. His talent and strength were more than sufficient to guard a medicine garden. After several breaths of hesitation, Taoist Xianmiao gritted his teeth. Very well. I willingly become the mountain god's servant. I ask only that the mountain god save the living beings beneath heaven. Guan swept his sleeve. A small wooden figure fell into a Taoist Xuanmiao's hands. It had been carved in the image of Guan's mountain god form. Taoist Xianmiao caught it and looked up, but Guan was already gone. Take it. Go save the living beings of the world. Guan's voice echoed through the forest. At the same moment, Taoist Xianmiao's sealed cultivation began returning. Joy spread across his face. Return to Oisian Divine Tao released. Taoist Xianmiao immediately rose and raced toward Wanji Forest at full speed. His spirit transformation realm cultivation erupted, and he disappeared over the horizon in the blink of an eye. Boom, boom, boom! Explosions thundered from every direction around the Six Paths Great Ascension Formation. The 7 Epiphyllum Cult venerables floated before the mother Epiphyllum tree. They stood side by side, half kneeling in midair. On the forehead of the human face embedded in the tree, a black fissure had appeared. Black flames poured from within it. It looked as though some terrifying existence were about to emerge. Below, blood-red light rose from the Zhang beside every prisoner. Countless red glows spread across the earth, forming a strangely beautiful yet horrifying scene. The Six Paths Great Ascension Formation had begun to activate. The terrible pressure radiating from the formation drove the cultivators of the Nine Dynasties near the edge of Wanji Forest into madness. They threw themselves forward desperately. Every second, people died. Lu Lingjun was fighting with everything she had, yet she still could not break through the defensive line formed by more than 10 profound heart realm experts. Heaven and earth had grown dark. Black clouds rolled. Thunder roared. It was almost as though heaven itself were mourning. Then a gigantic claw suddenly descended from the thunderclouds. It seized one of the mother Epiphyllum tree's branches and pulled upward, as if trying to uproot the entire tree. The mother Epiphyllum tree trembled violently. Insolence! The 7 Epiphyllum Cult venerables shouted together. They attacked in succession. Divine abilities erupted and struck the enormous claw, finally forcing it back. Immediately afterward, a gigantic crimson serpent descended from the sky. It possessed 2 claws and a head shaped like a human face. From a distance, that face resembled a heavily painted woman with wild, disheveled hair. Against the endlessly dark world, it looked terrifying beyond words. Its body was 100 zhang thick and stretched for an unknown number of miles. It's the divine beast of our Taikan dynasty, the Chen snake, a cultivator shouted in delighted shock. Morale among the cultivators of the Nine Dynasties surged. The Chen snake's ancient aura far surpassed that of ordinary profound heart realm cultivators. Its appearance brought them fresh hope. The enormous serpent opened its blood-red jaws. A crimson river of molten lava erupted from its mouth and flooded toward the mother Epiphyllum tree. Then, a beam of blood-red light shot from the black fissure in the forehead of the tree's human face. It smashed through the roaring river of lava, crossed 100 miles in an instant, and pierced directly through the Chen snake's throat. Scalding blood exploded into the air. The beast's scream shook heaven and earth like the roar of some colossal ancient elephant. The Chen snake crashed to the ground. A cloud of dust thousands of zhang high erupted around it. The entire earth trembled. Then an aura far beyond the profound heart realm descended over the entire Taikan dynasty. An ancient remnant beast dares call itself divine? Jing Tuxian's voice echoed across the world. It was icy and filled with killing intent. Everyone who heard it felt a chill rise from the bottom of their hearts. Lu Lingjun turned toward the mother Epiphyllum tree. Her expression changed. Disbelief filled her eyes. Under that pressure, even her spiritual power felt suppressed. The enemy's realm was unquestionably above the profound heart realm. The immortal of the Epiphyllum Cult has descended. Why aren't you kneeling and waiting to receive the blessing of the Epiphyllum Immortal? An Epiphyllum Cult Grand Cultivator laughed wildly. The profound heart realm experts of the Nine Dynasties no longer cared about his taunts. All of them stared at the mother Epiphyllum tree in horror. Beneath the thunderclouds, Lu Baitian stood atop an artifact. Shock covered his face. He looked toward the distant tree and muttered, "What realm is this?" Even he was at the 9th level of the integration realm. If he felt this helpless, how could those with lower cultivation endure it? Below him, the Tai Xuan Sect disciples felt as though mountains weighing tens of thousands of caddies had been pressed onto their bodies. Their flying formations gradually descended until they were forced to disperse completely. What exactly are we fighting? Impossible. This is impossible. Does the Epiphyllum Cult truly have an immortal? What do we do? Is there really no chance of victory? We still have Sword Venerable Fu Dao. If Senior Fu Dao comes, maybe we'll still have some hope. The disciples of Tai Xuan Sect desperately clung to that final thread of hope. The other sects, however, had already fallen into despair. Taoist Tianshu of Three Pure Mountains stared at the mother epiphyllum tree, face deathly pale. He began calculating with his fingers. No matter how many times he divined the situation, he could not see hope. This calamity cannot be escaped, Taoist Tianshu murmured. The righteous aura surrounding his body began fading. As Jing Tuxian's terrifying pressure covered the Taikan dynasty, the morale of the Nine Dynasties collapsed almost instantly. Yet some still refused to surrender. The profound heart realm experts of Xianxia sect continued fighting to the death, displaying the courage expected of the leading faction of the Nine Dynasties alliance. And Hao and Wuju flew forward at high speed. Their cultivation was relatively low, so no one paid much attention to them. They quickly entered Wanji Forest, intending to rescue the people being used as sacrifices. But the instant their feet touched the ground, strands of blood-red energy wrapped around their legs. Before they could react, the runes beneath their feet erupted with brilliant crimson light. The glow expanded at astonishing speed. In moments, it swept across the entire Taikan dynasty. Every living being within the dynasty's borders was frozen in place, including the grand cultivators in the sky. Even the profound heart realm cultivators were suppressed. They could still move, but only with incredible slowness, like dead leaves drifting through still air. The realization that they could not even flee filled them with despair. For the first time, the Taikan dynasty itself seemed endless. On a distant hillside, Li Xuandao, Lu Shan, Yi Liuyan, and a group of powerful-looking cultivators were also frozen in place. What is this? One cultivator stared fearfully at the mysterious blood threads wrapped around his legs. He tried to break free, but nothing worked. Worst of all, he could feel his control over his own body slowly disappearing. Lu Shan lowered his head, surprise in his eyes. Li Xuandao stared into the distance. His expression remained calm, as though even this catastrophe did not frighten him. This is the Six Paths Great Ascension formation. Only the immense power of the Great Ascension Realm can activate it. Do you understand what the Great Ascension Realm truly means? Jing Tuxian's voice rolled through heaven and earth, turning the world cold. Li Xuandao's eyes flickered. Elsewhere, Lu Lingjun was also entangled by mysterious blood threads in midair. They had appeared without warning, making them almost impossible to avoid. Beneath her feet, the White Spirit Demon Emperor groaned. We're completely finished this time. Lu Lingjun looked toward the mother epiphyllum tree. A figure was stepping out of the black fissure. Jing Tuxian. His black robes billowed violently. The sleeves and hem were torn, making the fabric resemble black flames. A vicious smile covered his pale face. His arrogant gaze looked down upon all living beings. Two lifelike demon marks rested on his forehead, looking as though they might leap free at any moment. Rumble. The earth shook violently. A blood-colored barrier rose from Wanji Forest. The sparse trees beneath it looked no larger than weeds. More and more Epiphyllum Cult cultivators descended and knelt on the ground, staring at Jing Tuxian with fanatical worship. Sword Venerable Fu Dao of Tai Xuan Sect, why don't you show yourself? Taoist Chongsheng of Three Pure Mountain, where are you hiding and chanting your scriptures now? Didn't someone from Xianxia Sect declare that destroying the Epiphyllum Cult would be easy? Why are none of you here? If you refuse to come, then hundreds of millions of living beings will enter the Six Paths and help this venerable become immortal. Jing Tuxian's words echoed one after another. Every sentence extinguished more hope within the cultivators of the Nine Dynasties. More and more people sank into despair. Reflections of epiphyllum flowers appeared in Jing Tuxian's blood-red eyes. Behind him, the human face of the mother epiphyllum tree opened its mouth and spat out an enormous epiphyllum flower. The blossom floated beneath Jing Tuxian's feet and carried him into the sky. As he rose, everyone throughout the Taikan dynasty felt their vitality being drained away. That sensation only deepened their despair. Far away in Xuan Valley, even Guan was secretly startled. That man's aura is incredibly powerful. It already feels close to the 9th level of the Great Ascension Realm. Fortunately, I broke through ahead of time and went all the way to the 9th level of the Nirvana Realm. Guan's divine sense locked onto Taoist Xuanmiao. Under the support of Guan's mana, Taoist Xuanmiao's speed had become far greater than before. He was already approaching the Taikan dynasty. Taoist Xuanmiao could also hear Jing Tuxian's voice. Anxiety burned inside him. Never in his life had he felt so painfully slow. Mountain God, there isn't enough time. Taoist Xuanmiao screamed inwardly. He gripped the mountain god's wooden figure so tightly that his arm trembled. If there isn't enough time, throw it. Guan's voice suddenly entered his ears. Dao Xiaomiao did not hesitate. He hurled the wooden figure forward. It had not flown for even 2 breaths when it suddenly erupted with terrifying speed. Cyan crimson light wrapped around it. Like an unstoppable meteor, it shot directly toward Wanji Forest. Almost instantly, Jing Tuxian sensed something. He turned toward the horizon. Lu Lingjun happened to be within his line of sight. When Jing Tuxian's gaze swept past her, even this ascender's heart trembled. The white spirit demon emperor beneath her shook even more violently. Then Lu Lingjun seemed to sense something. She instinctively tilted her head. For a moment, time appeared to freeze. From the corner of her eye, she glimpsed a streak of cyan crimson light. Within it, she vaguely saw a tiny humanoid figure. And Hao, still struggling against the formation's restraint, turned his head and saw that same beam racing toward them. It passed over him at an unbelievable speed. On a distant hillside, Li Xuandao watched the cyan crimson streak flash across the edge of the horizon. For an instant, he wondered whether his eyes had deceived him. In the despairing eyes of millions of sacrifices, that streak of light tore through the dark sky, bringing brightness back into their vision. Jing Tuxian reacted far faster than anyone else in the Taikan dynasty. He raised his hand. Terrifying spiritual power condensed into black radiance and forcefully blocked the approaching cyan crimson light. His expression changed slightly. Great Ascension Realm, who are you? Inside the light, the small wooden figure slowly turned to face Jing Tuxian. Then it raised one hand and pointed at him. Jing Tuxian's eyes trembled. He clenched his right fist. The terrifying black radiance condensed into a gigantic demonic claw, attempting to crush the wooden figure. Boom! A colossal beam of cyan light suddenly swept in from the distant horizon behind the wooden figure. Its speed was beyond imagination. In an instant, it engulfed Jing Tuxian. Too fast. Even Jing Tuxian, who stood near the peak of the Great Ascension Realm, had no time to react. The enormous mother epiphyllum tree was pierced straight through. Its trunk began turning to ash. The thunderclouds in the sky were scattered instantly. A clear, brilliant sky appeared before every living being in the dynasty. Countless people instinctively closed their eyes against the sudden sunlight. The cyan radiance surrounding the wooden figure faded as well. Heaven and earth fell silent. The grand cultivators of the Nine Dynasties and the grand cultivators of the Epiphyllum Cult all stared open-mouthed at the mother epiphyllum tree. They watched its enormous trunk slowly disintegrate. Their minds went blank. The small wooden figure turned around. Its body trembled lightly. The next instant, the world exploded. The earth split apart. Countless trees erupted from underground and surged toward the Epiphyllum Cult cultivators at insane speed. The Profound Heart Realm experts instinctively tried to flee. In the blink of an eye, roots and branches had already wrapped around their bodies. Outside the 6 Paths Great Ascension formation, trees continued rising. It was as though walls of living wood were emerging from every direction. The Epiphyllum Cult cultivators inside the formation changed expressions and desperately flew upward, trying to cross over the walls. The moment they rose, vines coiled around them and dragged them into the enormous trunks. No! What is this? Who are you? Cult Master, save me! Spare me, please spare me! Screams and desperate cries filled the world. Wanji Forest became an ocean of despair. The cultivators of the Nine Dynasties also scrambled away in fear. Then they realized something. The roots, vines, and branches deliberately curved around them. They targeted only members of the Epiphyllum Cult. Taoist Tianshu of 3 Pure Mountain floated high in the air, staring down. Dust rose like an endless sea. It seemed to cover the entire mortal world. Gigantic trees twisted through it like countless azure dragons, ancient and boundless. The sight shattered the understanding of even this Profound Heart Realm Grand Cultivator. He could not begin to imagine how vast a power was required to accomplish this. It felt as though heaven and earth themselves had decided to punish the Epiphyllum Cult. And he was not alone. Every Profound Heart Realm cultivator of the Nine Dynasties stared at the scene in disbelief. No matter how high they flew, they could not see the end of the sea of trees. Dust covered the land. Within it, endless vegetation grew, twisted, and destroyed. Lu Lingjun stared blankly. She could hardly believe her own eyes. The power of heaven and earth. Heaven finally opened its eyes! The white spirit demon emperor shouted excitedly. The blood threads around its body began dissolving. Control over its demonic body returned. Far away, atop a mountain in the North Sea range, Guan stood on a cliff facing the wind. At that moment, he truly carried the bearing of an immortal. The wooden figure he had given Taoist Xuanmiao was nothing more than misdirection. Its purpose was to make Jing Tuxian believe that whoever had arrived was merely another Great Ascension Realm cultivator. Guan then used the mana attached to the figure to lock onto Jing Tuxian from afar. After that, he struck with full power. The entire process had been extremely dangerous and extremely brief. Lifespan notifications appeared madly before Guan's eyes. His right foot shifted slightly. 100,000 miles away in the Tai Xuan Dynasty, the raging sea of trees came to an abrupt stop. Roots as enormous as mountain ridges filled the land and stunned every living being who saw them. Guan turned around. A powerful wind rose with him, scattering his black hair. He stepped into the forest and disappeared into the darkness, as though he had never been there at all. Elsewhere, Taoist Xuanmiao was still racing toward the Tai Xuan Dynasty at full speed. Once he crossed into its border, his speed gradually slowed. His eyes widened. Before him rose countless twisting trees taller than mountains. Could this truly be the power of the mountain god? Taoist Xuanmiao slowly descended and landed on a hillside. Like Guan before him, he stood beside a cliff with the wind rushing into his robes. But unlike Guan's calm demeanor, Taoist Xuanmiao's face was filled with shock. Astonishment and reverence mixed in his eyes. Then deep fear rose inside him. He had offended the mountain god before, and yet the mountain god had spared him. The tiny image of the mountain god stood in absurd contrast to the world-shaking scene before him. That contrast shook Taoist Xuanmiao's spirit even more deeply. He slowly knelt. His knees stopped only inches from the edge of the cliff. To serve him for the rest of my life, so that is actually an honor. Under the brilliant sunlight, dust still rolled across the vast world. The leaders of the Nine Dynasties sects gathered together. They landed atop enormous roots and stared at the surrounding devastation. For a long time, no one spoke. Lu Baitian was among them. Even though the Epiphyllum Cult's upper ranks had already been dead for some time, the shock in his heart had not faded. They had fought desperately for so long without managing to break the Epiphyllum Cult's defensive line. And yet, in only a few breaths, the cult master and all those profound heart realm experts had died. What in the world had just happened? These people stood at the summit of the cultivation world across the Nine Dynasties. Yet at this moment, every one of them felt complicated and uneasy. Surviving the calamity filled them with relief. But once they calmed down, fear followed. If that mysterious force could erase the Epiphyllum Cult so easily, could it erase them just as easily? Liang Kanghai, sect master of Tai Xuan Sect, looked toward Taoist Tianshu. Fellow Taoist Tianshu, do you know what kind of power that was? Everyone turned toward him expectantly. Three Pure Mountain was the oldest sect in the Nine Dynasties. Its understanding of heaven and earth undoubtedly exceeded theirs. Taoist Tianshu's expression was complicated. He drew a deep breath. This poor Taoist does not know what existence acted. Perhaps, heaven and earth themselves were punishing the Epiphyllum Cult. Heaven and earth? The expressions of the sect leaders shifted. Wu Wujin, sect master of Zhoushan sect from the Tai Xuan Dynasty, stared into the distance. If heaven and earth truly possess a will, why wait until so many people died before acting? In the direction he looked, disciples of the various sects were escorting prisoners who had been used as sacrifices. There were countless figures, as numerous as stars. Yet amid the sea of trees, they still looked painfully small. No one answered Wu Wujin. This battle had shattered the arrogance within all of them. Only after witnessing such terrifying power did they truly understand. The integration realm was nothing. Even the profound heart realm was merely a slightly larger ant. The Epiphyllum Cult's profound heart realm grand cultivators had died without the slightest ability to resist. No one here could forget the despair on their faces before death. It was the mountain god. The mountain god acted. A voice suddenly rang out. Everyone turned in shock. Taoist Xuanmiao was flying toward them at high speed. Lu Baitian remembered him immediately. Second place on the golden ranking. The only genius who had ever forced and how to truly fight seriously. Taoist Xuanmiao landed before Taoist Tianshu and bowed. An elderly Taoist from Three Pure Mountain hurriedly asked, "Xuanmiao, what mountain god? Do you know what happened?" Taoist Xuanmiao drew a deep breath and looked toward the gathered sect leaders. The one who destroyed the Epiphyllum Cult was the mountain god. He lives hidden in the deep mountains. His whereabouts cannot be found. I was fortunate enough to meet him. Earlier, the mountain god gave me a wooden statue and told me to carry it here to save all living beings. Everything you saw was created by that wooden statue. Reverence filled his face. The sect leaders immediately began questioning him all at once. The area erupted into noise. Liang Kanghai suddenly seemed to remember something. He waved toward the distance. A cultivator soon flew over carrying a small wooden figure. Liang Kanghai beckoned. The figure flew into his hand. He turned to Taoist Xuanmiao. "Young friend, is this the wooden statue you spoke of?" Taoist Xuanmiao immediately nodded. "Yes, that is the mountain god's wooden statue. Everyone, whatever you do not disrespect him." All eyes fell onto the object in Liang Kanghai's hand. For a moment, he felt as though the little wooden figure were burning his palm. Some people still doubted Taoist Xuanmiao. Taoist Tianshu suddenly formed a spell. Taoist Xuanmiao was immobilized. Tianshu swept his horsetail whisk across the younger Taoist's forehead and pulled out a fragment of memory. An illusory scene appeared before everyone. Taoist Xianxia was kneeling inside a forest. In front of him, crouching on a tree branch, was a tiny man in white robes. Liang Konghai saw the tiny figure and was so frightened that he dropped the wooden statue. They were identical. Strangely enough, the mountain god's tiny body only made everyone more willing to believe that he truly was a divine being. The memory continued. The Nine Dynasties are about to face annihilation. If everyone dies and demons invade afterward, there will be no one left to worship you. Who told you only humans can worship me? And who told you I protect only humans? It isn't impossible for me to act. However, what? What do you want? I want you to become my servant forever. You will build my Taoist temple. You will guard it. For the rest of your life, you will have no freedom. Hearing the mountain god's words, everyone felt chills run down their backs. The first part of the conversation made his thinking impossible to understand. The latter half revealed something else entirely, the frightening unpredictability of a divine being. To make a bargain with an immortal or god, the price could be unimaginably heavy. Everyone watched tensely. Inside the memory, Taoist Xuanmiao finally raised his head. Then he spoke words that shook every heart present. Very well, I willingly become the mountain god's servant. I ask only that the mountain god save the living beings beneath heaven. Take it, go save all living beings. The mountain god tossed him a wooden figure. Taoist Xuanmiao rose, bowed, took it and left. The vision abruptly ended. Taoist Tianshu's expression changed. He suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood. His face turned pale. Taoist Xianmiao regained control of his body and frowned at him. The sect leaders looked toward Xianmiao with complicated expressions. He had sacrificed his own freedom for the sake of all living beings. That spirit earned their respect from the bottom of their hearts. As expected of the sole direct disciple of three pure mountains Tai King lineage. After confirming the mountain god's existence, the sect leaders also felt strangely relieved. Compared with some incomprehensible power of heaven and earth, a mountain god was easier to accept. And judging from his own words, the mountain god did not care much about mortal affairs. The mountain god cannot be divined, cannot be examined. Taoist Tianshu spoke weakly as fellow Taoists supported him. Liang Konghai drew a deep breath. Everyone, we must not offend the mountain god. We cannot risk bringing disaster upon the Nine Dynasties. But neither can we forget what he did for us. Remember his appearance. After returning to your sects, erect statues and temples in his honor. Spread his deeds throughout the world. The sect leaders nodded in agreement. Taoist Xianmiao stepped toward Liang Konghai and retrieved the wooden statue floating nearby. Then he turned toward the people of Three Pure Mountain and bowed. Martial uncles and senior uncles, when you return, please tell my master that from today onward, I am no longer the inheritor of Three Pure Mountains Tai King lineage. I will not return to the mountain. I ask that the sect forgive my willfulness. Taoist Tianshu and the other Taoists sighed. No one tried to stop him. A person without trust cannot stand in this world, Taoist Tianshu said solemnly. Serving the mountain god may not necessarily be a punishment. Xuanmiao, no matter what happens to Three Pure Mountain in the future, you must never violate the mountain god's will. Do you understand? Taoist Xuanmiao nodded. Then he turned and left. Several sect leaders exchanged subtle glances. For a moment, some considered sending people to follow him. Then they looked at the terrifying landscape around them. The thought died immediately, at least for now. Provoking the mountain god was a terrible idea. Far away, Lingjun stood on a great tree. The white spirit demon emperor had shrunk down and rested on her shoulder. The mountain god. This truly is the Tianling Great World. There really are immortals and gods here. The white spirit demon emperor spoke excitedly. From afar, they had witnessed the sect leaders' conversation. They had even seen Taoist Tianshu pull out the fragment of memory. They were not the only ones. Profound Heart Realm cultivators from the various sects had also watched the entire scene. The mountain god's existence shattered their understanding of the world. Lingjun, however, kept thinking about the tiny white-robed figure inside the illusion. Back in the pavilion at Xuan Valley, Guan was in an excellent mood. This single intervention had earned him 1.27 million years of lifespan. Jing Tuxian, a 9th-level Great Ascension Realm cultivator, had given him 649 years. The 8th-rank Mother Epiphyllum tree had given him 500 years. The remaining Epiphyllum Cult cultivators generally provided only a few dozen years each. Even most of the Profound Heart Realm cultivators yielded fewer than 40 years. This time, Guan had killed nearly 30,000 members of the Epiphyllum Cult. It was not the cult's entire force, but it was unquestionably its elite. After this battle, the Epiphyllum Cult was destined to collapse. He had killed 72 Profound Heart Realm cultivators alone. Seeing his total lifespan climb beyond 3.3 million years, Guan's mood improved even further. He immediately pulled out Xianxia's travels and prepared to relax. Now that the Epiphyllum Cult had been destroyed, Perhaps the Nine Dynasties could finally enjoy a few decades of peace. He wondered whether he could push his lifespan beyond 10 million before the demon calamity arrived. The battle report from Wanji Forest had not yet reached Tai Xuan Sect. The entire sect remained tense. Only after night fell did Guan quietly begin moving. He went out to harvest Epiphyllum flowers. Just as before, each blossom offered only about a year of lifespan. Guan did not mind in the slightest. 3 days later, Tai Xuan Sect erupted. News of the Epiphyllum Cult's destruction spread throughout the cultivation world. At noon, Yi Lan came to visit Guan. As a law enforcement hall disciple, she had access to more complete information than ordinary disciples. She excitedly told him everything she had heard about the battle at Wanji Forest. Naturally, she also mentioned the mountain god. The mountain god's power could destroy heaven and earth. Mortals truly can't compare. The Epiphyllum Cult was already terrifying enough, right? But the mountain god acted once, and the whole cult was basically destroyed in an instant. Can you believe it? The mountain god is ridiculously powerful. In old legends, aren't mountain gods supposed to guard only one region? Our mountain god is absurd. If someone told me he was actually a heavenly immortal, I'd believe them. Yi Lan was so excited that her usual disciplined demeanor had vanished completely. For cultivators, the confirmed existence of the mountain god was thrilling news. Immortals and gods truly existed in this world. Guan pretended to be equally excited. He repeatedly asked questions and allowed Yi Lan to enjoy telling the story. He had already expected Taoist Xuanmiao to spread the legend of the mountain god. Xuanmiao had only promised not to reveal the mountain god's whereabouts. He praised the mountain god to practically everyone he met. Guan had even noticed when Taoist Tianshu extracted Xuanmiao's memory. That was one of the powers of the immortal Tao. From an enormous distance, Guan had struck Taoist Tianshu's divine sense and lightly punished him. It had also served as a warning to the gathered sect leaders. Taoist Tianshu had no idea he had been attacked. He believed he had suffered backlash from examining the mountain god's memory. That only deepened his reverence. Yi Lan remained for nearly 4 hours before finally leaving. Her fighting spirit had been reignited. If the world truly contained a mountain god, then perhaps nothing was impossible. Guan had still underestimated the influence the mountain god would have. During the following weeks, every time he visited the outer city, he heard people discussing the divine being. The city had already built a mountain god temple, where cultivators could burn incense and kneel in worship. It was crowded every day. At the same time, the sects of the Nine Dynasties began clearing epiphyllum flowers from across the world. In less than a month, nearly 90% of the blossoms had disappeared. The remainder were scattered too widely, and eventually Guan became too lazy to keep searching for them. Even so, his harvest had been immense. In less than a month, the epiphyllum flowers alone had given him 1.7 million years of lifespan. Most of that came during the first half of the month. The longer he continued, the more difficult it became to gain lifespan. Many flowers withered immediately after being plucked. That puzzled him. It was almost as though some hidden force had already drained away their vitality. Guan did not know the reason. He also did not care much. He was satisfied. Thank you, Epiphyllum Cult. You've saved me 20 years of farming. His lifespan had now reached 4.39 million years. After the destruction of the Epiphyllum Cult, joy swept through all 9 dynasties. Countless versions of the story spread among mortals. The Epiphyllum Cult became remembered as the most terrifying evil sect in the world, and the mountain god became an object of worship. One day, in a forest in the North Sea Mountains, Taoist Xuanmiao knelt on the ground with a devout expression. Then he heard a voice. Joy immediately filled his face. He rose and followed its direction. 2 hours later, Taoist Xuanmiao stopped on a mountainside. From there, he could see the shimmering waters of the North Sea in the distance. This place will do. Build me a Taoist temple here, and clear out a medicinal field. Grow herbs for me. Gu's voice entered Taoist Xuanmiao's ears. Taoist Xuanmiao immediately agreed. He found himself genuinely looking forward to the life of service that awaited him. Just like that, 1 full day and night passed. At dawn, Guan transformed into the tiny white-robed figure and appeared on Taoist Xuanmiao's shoulder. Xuanmiao was sitting cross-legged on the steps outside the newly built Taoist temple, eyes closed as he cultivated. Guan looked over the temple. It was not bad. It could not be called grand or luxurious, but neither was it cramped. The courtyard walls were built from stone, as was the temple itself. Its beams and pillars were made from dark hardwood, and tiles covered the eaves. Half hidden among the trees on the mountainside, it had a quiet, secluded air. Inside the courtyard, a large incense cauldron burned steadily. Thin trails of blue smoke drifted through the air, giving the place the atmosphere of an immortal retreat. Overall, Taoist Xuanmiao had clearly put thought into it. He had successfully pleased Guan. Guan spoke, the words on that plaque aren't right. Simply writing mountain god is too vague. There may be more than one mountain god in this world. Taoist Xuanmiao's eyes snapped open. He instinctively turned his head. When he saw the mountain god standing on his shoulder, his entire body stiffened. He did not dare move. Very carefully, he asked, "May I ask what divine name Senior uses?" "I haven't decided yet." Guan jumped from his shoulder and walked into the courtyard. Taoist Xiaomiao hurriedly rose and followed. He could not suppress his curiosity. "What do you mean you haven't decided? Is there no community of immortals and gods behind you? Something like the heavenly court in Investiture of the Gods?" "Investiture of the Gods? What is that?" Taoist Xuanmiao briefly explained the book. Whenever he mentioned it, his voice naturally carried respect. Guan snorted dismissively. "Mortals dare speculate about immortals and gods? I don't know whether a heavenly court exists in this world, but from the day I was born, I have never met another immortal or god. Then how can you be? You want to ask why I dare call myself a mountain god? I wouldn't dare. That wasn't what I meant. Immortal and god are not merely titles. They can also describe a realm of existence. Cultivate properly. Perhaps one day you too will reach it." Those words instantly set Taoist Xuanmiao's heart ablaze. He wanted to become as powerful as the mountain god. Seeing that the mountain god seemed to be in a decent mood, Xiaomiao began asking about the medicinal field. "Plant whatever you like," Guan replied casually. "When the time comes, I'll harvest it myself and help those flowers and herbs pass on to their next lives." Taoist Xiaomiao's reverence immediately deepened. He had never heard that flowers and grass also needed to pass on to the next life. The mountain god's state of mind truly was beyond mortal imagination. After giving Xuanmiao a few more instructions, Guan disappeared without a trace. He said he was going underground to sleep and told Xiaomiao not to disturb him unless something important happened. Sleep underground? Taoist Xiaomiao gained yet another strange understanding of the mountain god. 2 months had passed since the Epiphyllum Cult's destruction. Tai Xuan Sect's grand cultivators gradually returned with their disciples. They brought countless stories back with them, and the legend of the mountain god once again spread throughout the sect. Lu Lingjun had returned as well. Lu Baitian assigned her to the Elder Hall, causing her status to soar. He originally intended to transfer her away from the Third Medicine Valley. This time, however, Lu Lingjun refused. "From now on, I'll cultivate right here in the Third Medicine Valley and continue protecting you. But don't think that means you can order me around. If you regularly offer me some medicinal herbs, I might be willing to help you with a few things." Inside the pavilion, Lu Lingjun sat across from Guan and spoke with exaggerated confidence. "Look at that attitude, she's really putting on airs now." Guan smiled. "Giving you medicinal herbs isn't impossible. Actually, why don't you buy seeds yourself? I'll plant them for you. Everything that grows from them will belong to you. Planting them is hardly any trouble for me. And with you guarding the Third Medicine Valley, I can relax." Lu Lingjun considered it. "That makes sense. In a couple of days, I'll visit the sect's main city. The seeds sold there are higher quality." After that, she began recounting the battle at Wanji Forest from her own perspective. Because she had personally experienced it, the war sounded even more brutal in her telling. Her respect for the mountain god was immense. As an ascender, the existence of true immortals and gods carried even greater meaning for her than for ordinary cultivators. Listening to how openly Lu Lingjun expressed her awe toward the mountain god, Guan secretly felt delighted. Naturally, he gave nothing away. From time to time, he even gasped and praised the mountain god's power along with her. Once she finished, Guan sighed. "The mountain god's realm truly is impossible to imagine. I wonder whether a mortal cultivator could ever reach such a level even after striving for an entire lifetime." Lu Lingjun answered seriously. "Perhaps it is almost impossible, but once someone steps onto the path of immortal cultivation, they should strive towards such a goal. Even if I die before reaching it, I would have no regrets." Guan could see that her maximum lifespan had now reached 3,700 years. She still had nearly 1,700 years remaining. Whether she could defy fate during that time and reach the Nirvana realm was another question. For now, Guan had no intention of teaching her the innate reincarnation art. Their relationship was not yet close enough. He would watch how she behaved from here on. If she made him happy, perhaps he would help her. If she treated him badly, then she could forget about it. Half an hour later, Lu Lingjun rose to leave. Before stepping out, she reminded him, "Stop reading those ridiculous books. If you have free time, write another volume of Investiture of the Gods. I want to know what happens after all those people are granted divine titles. Ridiculous books? You simply don't understand art." Guan watched Lu Lingjun's back. Only after she closed the door did he pull out Tai Xuan Secret Chronicles. This was the final volume. Once he finished it, he had planned to burn the entire series. He turned to the first page and began reading. Shenzhen's writing style had changed. This final volume was melancholic. The carefree, uninhibited tone of the earlier books was gone. Not bad, I like it. As a naturally melancholic person himself, Guan decided not to burn Tai Xuan's secret chronicles after all. He read as the male protagonist, and his beautiful confidante faced separation. Their suppressed emotions finally erupted. They confessed all the pain they had kept hidden from each other, and years of tangled misunderstandings were finally resolved. Then came the illustration Gaoan knew best, the one in which neither character was wearing a single thread of clothing. Gaoan examined it with great seriousness, checking whether Shenzhen's painting technique contained any flaws. The new year arrived. Guan celebrated first in the Third Medicine Valley, then in Xuan Valley. After midnight, he traveled to Nianshu Cave Abode on Tianwang Mountain. He brought Tian Yaoer good wine and good food, intending to celebrate the new year with her. Aside from managing medicinal herbs, Tian Yaoer spent almost all of her time cultivating. Her days were extremely monotonous. That was why Guan always brought her something delicious whenever he visited. This was Tian Yaoer's first time drinking wine. She picked up the jar and choked on her very first sip. This was spiritual wine. Even a core formation realm cultivator could become drunk after drinking too much. At the same time, the wine could increase cultivation. It was practically a tonic in liquid form. Tian Yaoer's face turned red at a visible speed. Guan reminded her, if you can't drink it, don't force yourself. Save it and drink slowly another time. Once you get used to it, it'll be easier. A demon blushing from alcohol? That was outside Guan's expectations. Tian Yaoer shook her head stubbornly. I can drink it. Why wouldn't I be able to? She had just watched Guan drain an entire bowl. Of course, she refused to admit defeat. Besides, even though the wine made her entire body burn, it also felt extremely comfortable. After one sip, she immediately wanted another. Guan was about to speak when he suddenly sensed something. He rose. Eat some meat first. I need to go out for a while. The moment he finished speaking, he disappeared. Tian Yaoer picked up the jar again. She licked her lips and took another sip. This time, she endured the burning sensation in her nose and continued drinking. Far away beneath the night sky, mountain ranges stretched endlessly. One particular ridge seemed to twist and move. A closer look revealed that it was not a mountain at all, but an enormous serpent with 2 legs and a human face. It was the Chen snake that had appeared during the battle at Wanji Forest. Blood covered its enormous body. Its aura was weak. Every breath it took sounded like distant thunder. Demonic mist rose around it. Within that mist, countless ghostly shadows seemed to be drawing closer. The Chen snake's intelligent eyes were exhausted. They looked as though they might close forever at any moment. What powerful blood essence, an ancient remnant indeed. A cold laugh rang out. The Chen snake forced its eyes open. A figure had appeared in the demonic mist above. It was an elderly woman in black robes. 2 beast horns grew from her head. A pair of feathered wings spread behind her. Fine black fur covered parts of her face, making her look even more monstrous. The Tianwang demon mother stared down at the Chen snake, greed filling her eyes. The Chen snake tried to move. It could not rise. The Tianhuang demon mother began approaching. Demonic ki poured from her body like 2 black dragons, coiling around the Chen snake's massive form. If you don't want to die, turn around and leave. A voice suddenly came from the Chen snake's direction. The Tianhuang demon mother stopped, her eyes narrowed. Standing on the Chen snake's forehead was a tiny white-robed figure wearing a mask. The Tianhuang demon mother laughed coldly. And what divine being might you be? Don't tell me you don't know who I am. Guan heard her and was about to answer. Then he decided it sounded troublesome. He simply waved his sleeve. Terrifying mana swept forward like a gale. The Tianhuang demon mother turned to ash instantly. You have successfully seized 203 years of lifespan from the Tianhuang demon mother, 9th level of the integration realm. Oh. The demon king Tian Yaoer feared more than anything else in the world died just like that. She had not been able to resist even once. The Chen snake struggled to open its eyes wider. Then it spoke in a weak human voice. Could you be the mountain god? Its voice was so faint that it was difficult to tell whether it was male or female. During the battle against the Epiphyllum Cult, the Chen snake had fallen to the ground and seen the wooden statue. That wooden figure closely resembled Guan's current appearance. Guan said, "You risked yourself to save living beings. For that reason, I'll save your life." He took out several bottles of pills he had refined in advance and poured them into the Chen snake's mouth. The beast was already severely injured. Worse, it had been poisoned by the mother epiphyllum tree. That poison could only be cured using epiphyllum pills refined from epiphyllum flowers. Mountain God, someone has inherited the Epiphyllum Cult's power. The Chen snake struggled to speak. A strange light appeared inside its serpent eyes, and an image formed within them. Guan focused on it. His expression behind the mask became strange. Why him? Li Xuandao. How did that man inherit the Epiphyllum Cult's power? Guan asked. Inherited its power? What power did the Epiphyllum Cult possess that could even be inherited? The Chen snake answered with difficulty. The epiphyllum flowers spread throughout the world existed so the epiphyllum spirit could absorb spiritual energy. The epiphyllum spirit is itself a remnant of an ancient race. It can use those flowers to absorb spiritual energy from across the world. Once a living being fuses with it, every epiphyllum flower loses its vitality. Only an empty shell remains. The figure reflected inside its eyes was clearly Li Xuandao. Even his appearance could be seen. Li Xuandao seemed to be speaking with someone. No sound came through. Guan asked, "Were you injured because you tried to stop him?" "Yes, a profound heart realm expert protects him." "But he did not kill me," the Chen snake answered weakly. Guan asked, "Do you want me to kill him?" "If possible. It would be best to cripple his cultivation. The epiphyllum spirit is ultimately an ominous thing. Then recover first. Later you can deal with him yourself. The poison in your body will be gone soon." Guan replied casually without promising anything. Why would he cripple someone simply because the Chen snake asked him to? The Chen snake remained silent for a moment. Then, "I was presumptuous." Guan disappeared from its forehead. The Chen snake itself possessed profound heart realm cultivation. Once its poison was cured, the demons of Tianwang Mountain would no longer be able to threaten it. Sensing Guan leave, the Chen snake closed its eyes. Its ragged breathing gradually softened. Elsewhere, Guan returned to Nianshu Cave abode. He was surprised to find Tian Yaoer completely drunk, collapsed over the table. He picked up the wine jar. Empty. She had drunk the entire thing. This girl? Guan smiled helplessly. He lifted Tian Yaoer into his arms and carried her toward the room. Master, help me! Kill the demon mother. Avenge my parents." Tian Yaoer wrapped her arms around Guan's neck and mumbled drunkenly. Warm breath brushed against his skin. Guan did not tell her that the Tianhuang demon mother was already dead. Having a goal for revenge would make her work harder at cultivation. At noon the next day, Guan arrived at Tianya Valley. The previous night, his divine sense had already discovered that Li Xuandao had returned. From a distance, Guan saw him sitting beneath a tree at a stone table. A book rested in one hand. Xuandao 7th level of the Void Crossing Realm, 271, 1599, 6050. 7th level of the Void Crossing Realm. His cultivation had risen again. More importantly, his maximum lifespan had nearly doubled. Guan clearly remembered that Li Xuandao's previous maximum lifespan had only been a little over 3,000 years. Could the epiphyllum spirit really have such an enormous effect? Guan suddenly felt that Li Xuandao was far more extraordinary than he had realized. There were people with higher maximum lifespans, whose cultivation still did not advance as quickly as his. Even An Hao might not cultivate faster than Li Xuandao. Most importantly, no one knew Li Xuandao's true cultivation. He practiced some special concealment art. On the surface, he appeared to be only at the 1st level of the core formation realm, a 7th level void crossing realm cultivator pretending to be 1st level core formation. He was absurdly cautious. Guan thought about it while walking over. "Greetings, uncle." Guan stopped before Li Xuandao and bowed. Li Xuandao placed investiture of the gods on the table and smiled. "Guan, you've finally come. Uncle prepared a superior golden core for you. It may have belonged to a first-rate genius. Once your cultivation reaches the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm, I'll ask a Grand Cultivator to help you enter the Core Formation Realm." Guan immediately bowed in thanks. Li Xuandao gestured for him to sit. Then he continued speaking on his own. "Recently, I studied Investiture of the Gods again and gained many new insights. Tell me, what do you think would have happened if King Zhou had befriended the Chan sect from the beginning?" Guan replied, "There aren't that many what-ifs. Different personalities lead to different choices. Many things were destined to happen because of who those people were. King Zhou was domineering. The Chan sect might not have approved of the way he acted even if he had approached them first." Li Xuandao shook his head. "Too superficial. I believe Investiture of the Gods hides a deeper meaning. Is he going mad from analyzing it?" Guan suddenly did not know what to say. He quietly examined Li Xuandao's aura. Strangely, he could not detect even the slightest trace of epiphyllum energy. His curiosity toward Li Xuandao's cultivation technique intensified. His instincts told him the technique was extremely powerful, perhaps even stronger than Lu Baitian's inverse fate divine art. Li Xuandao traveled everywhere recruiting geniuses. That alone was unusual. But now a profound heart realm expert was secretly protecting him as well. How had he managed that? Had he won over aristocratic clans with benefits? Or had he taken some hidden supreme expert as his master? The latter seemed more likely. Why else would a profound heart realm grand cultivator care about an emperor? Li Xuandao began explaining his own interpretation of Investiture of the Gods. The longer he spoke, the more abstract his analysis became. Eventually, he was even dissecting the hidden motivations of the characters. Guan noticed that Yi Liuyan and Lu Xian still had not returned. Lu Xian had once carried a remnant soul belonging to the Epiphyllum Cult's evil emperor. Gu An suspected Li Xuandao's acquisition of the Epiphyllum spirit might somehow be connected to him. They talked for a long time. Li Xuandao still did not seem finished when he eventually sent Guan away to harvest medicinal herbs. Once Guan completed his work, he returned to say farewell. Before leaving, curiosity got the better of him. "Uncle, did you come here this time because you have something to do?" Li Xuandao kept his eyes on the book. "I'm waiting for one of Tai Xuan Sect's pavilion elders to come see me." "A pavilion elder?" Guan became even more curious. Had Li Xuandao managed to win over one of the branches of the three great clans? He did not ask further. Those people could struggle among themselves however they liked. As long as it did not affect him, Guan did not care. With his current cultivation, he could not yet claim to be invincible across the entire continent. But within the Nine Dynasties, there was no one capable of threatening him. His curiosity mostly came from wanting to watch the drama. Looking down from above while everyone else competed and schemed against one another was truthfully rather entertaining. After peace returned to the world, Guan's life also returned to normal. He moved between his medicine valleys. Occasionally, he visited the outer city and chatted with old friends. For him, every day remained interesting. He never felt bored. In the blink of an eye, 5 years passed. That summer, Guan turned 79. His lifespan had surpassed 5 million years. The distance to 10 million was shrinking. By now, the profound heart realm was no longer a secret. At least within the inner city, cultivators had begun hearing stories about grand cultivators at that level. One day, Gu An entered the inner city and invited Wu Ju to drink at an inn. Wu Ju was delighted to see him. After each of them had finished an entire jar of wine, Wu Ju said, "Brother Gu, I'm leaving next month. I probably won't be able to come back for at least 10 years. After so many years, Wu Zhou's maximum lifespan had stopped increasing. Perhaps his life had become too peaceful. Guan asked curiously, "Where are you going?" Wu Zhou replied, "Hasn't the current emperor been calling for the unification of the Nine Dynasties, so the strength of the entire world can be gathered against the demon calamity coming in a few decades? My master is sending me to help him." The Zhou clan. 5 years earlier, Guan had become curious about which pavilion elder Li Xuandao was waiting to meet. He secretly watched with divine sense. That pavilion elder turned out to be Wu Jue's current master, Zhou Yu. After the two met, Li Xuandao returned to the imperial court and issued the declaration that shocked the world. "Unify the realm, destroy the demons." Such arrogant words naturally drew criticism even from Tai Xuan Sect. Yet what happened afterwards surprised its disciples even more. Tai Xuan Sect actually began sending disciples to assist the dynasty and work for Li Xuandao. This clearly was not Lu Baitian's idea. Guan could feel the tension inside the inner sect. Another notable point, in all 5 of those years, Lu Baitian never came to see Guan. If Guan had not secretly checked with his divine sense and confirmed that Lu Baitian was alive, well, and cultivating in seclusion, he might have suspected the man had once again been driven into cultivation deviation. Guan smiled. "I have a disciple named Yi Yan. He joined the army many years ago. If you meet him, please look after him." Wu Zhuo slapped his chest and laughed. "Of course, your disciple is practically my disciple too." Guan raised his bowl and clinked it against Wu Zhuo's. The two continued chatting. Wu Zhu was in high spirits and began talking about his cultivation over the past few years. His understanding of Sunset Fist and Gale Shadowless Kick had advanced another level. He claimed he had even comprehended several stronger techniques of his own. Then Guan's gaze shifted toward the staircase. Someone was walking up to the 2nd floor. Wei Tiangong, 3rd level of the Profound Heart Realm. 3,889, 4 Profound 600. 3rd level of the Profound Heart Realm. Guan glanced once and immediately looked away. Curiosity stirred inside him. Who is that? He's already lived more than 3,800 years. Even if ancestor Xianxia were still alive, he would probably be nothing more than a junior before this man. Wei Tiangong wore cyan Taoist robes and carried a horsetail whisk. His beard hung below his chin, and his hair was tied in a Taoist knot. His aura appeared to be only at the core formation realm, so none of the surrounding disciples paid him much attention. His clothing was not unusual either. On the 2nd floor alone, 2 other cultivators wore almost identical outfits. Wei Tiangong swept his gaze through the room. His eyes eventually settled on Wu Zhu. He walked over and smiled. "Young friends, would you mind if this poor Taoist joined you?" Wu Zhu frowned and looked toward Guan. Guan smiled. "If we're all fellow cultivators, why refuse? Fellow Taoist, please sit." Wei Tiangong stroked his beard and sat down. "This poor Taoist's surname is Wei. I am not a disciple of Tai Xuan Sect, but a guest of the sect. When I saw the 2 of you today, I felt as though I had met old friends. That is why I came over and disturbed your drinking." Wu Jue's frown deepened. During the first half of his life, Tai Xuan Sect had suffered several disasters caused by infiltrators. Because of that, he had developed a strong dislike of cultivators from outside sects. Guan asked, "Brother Wei, may I ask which sect you come from?" Wei Tiangong looked at Guan and smiled. This poor Taoist comes from the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. I wonder whether either of you has heard of it? Guan shook his head. Wu Ju impatiently. What exactly are you trying to find out? Just say what you want. Don't interfere with 2 brothers drinking together. Wei Tiangong shook his head with a soft laugh. He took a cyan jade token from his sleeve, placed it on the table, and pushed it toward Wu Zhou. This poor Taoist sees that your bones are extraordinary. A spiritual radiance gathers above your head. You have fate with my 7 Stars Spirit Realm. I would like to invite you there to cultivate. Then he turned toward Guan. Guan instinctively looked at him with anticipation. Wei Tiangong merely smiled, gave Guan a polite nod, and turned back. Guan maintained his smile. He said nothing. Wu Zhu snorted. 7 Stars Spirit Realm? I've never even heard of it. I'm not going. Wei Tiangong stroked his beard and laughed without answering, almost as though amused by Wu Zhu's ignorance. That attitude irritated Wu Zhu even more. He glared at the old Taoist. His fists had already clenched. Wei Tiangong smiled. Young friend, do you know how many people throughout the 9 Dynasties dream of entering the 7 Stars Spirit Realm? Even if they were allowed to cultivate there for only a few years, they would fight one another for the opportunity and beg to be admitted. Those words suddenly reminded Guan of Ji Xiaoyu, leaving for the Holy Land. Could the 7 Stars Spirit Realm be that legendary Holy Land? If it's that impressive, why do you need to invite me? Wu Zhou replied stubbornly. Just wait until I come begging you someday. Wei Tiangong shook his head and laughed. He did not seem offended. Over the next while, Guan listened as Wei Tiangong boasted about the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. No matter how eloquent the old man became, he still could not persuade Wu Zhuo. Wu Zhuo's attitude greatly amused Guan. What expression would he make if he knew Wei Tiangong was a profound heart realm cultivator? Suddenly, another figure appeared behind Wei Tiangong. Guan raised his eyes. It was Wu Zhuo's current master, Zhou Yu, 9th level of the Integration Realm, 864 2003-100. To become a pavilion elder required more than high cultivation. Zhou Yu's talent was also among the very best in the sect, not inferior to Lu Baitian's. Zhou Yu looked toward Wei Tiangong. Senior Tiangong, Wu Zhuo is my disciple. If there's something you wish to discuss with him, could we move somewhere else? Wei Tiangong turned. After studying him for a moment, he said, Your name is Zhou Yu, isn't it? Yes. 500 years ago, I cultivated under Senior for several years. Zhou Yu's voice carried a trace of respect. Wu Zhu immediately stood and bowed to his master. Recognition appeared in Wei Tiangong's eyes. So that's how it is. Very well, let's speak elsewhere. The surrounding disciples were all watching them now. Continuing such a conversation in the middle of the inn was indeed inappropriate. Wu Zhuo did not even have time to say goodbye. Zhou Yu placed a hand on his shoulder and the two vanished. Wei Tiangong smiled and nodded toward Guan. Guan cupped his hands in return. Once Wei Tiangong disappeared as well, the corner of Guan's lips rose. He picked up the wine jar and filled both his own bowl and the one Wu Zhu had left behind. Then he raised his bowl toward the empty seat. May your future be bright. May your name shake the world sooner rather than later. Guan drank the entire bowl alone. Afterward, he stood, paid the bill, and left the inn. He did not immediately return to the Third Medicine Valley. Instead, he headed toward the Inner Sect's Scripture Pavilion. Ever since Guan borrowed records of the lands beneath heaven and the continental map from the Scripture Pavilion, he had developed a friendship with Elder Shu Lu. Over the years, the two often discussed Xianxia's travels and eventually became close friends despite their difference in age. It was also worth mentioning that Guan had become acquainted with Ancestor Kusong inside the Scripture Pavilion. Ancestor Kusong concealed his identity as a supreme elder and pretended to be an ordinary inner disciple when interacting with Guan. Guan naturally did not expose him. After entering the third floor of the Scripture Pavilion, Guan found Shu Lu. He returned the book he had borrowed and smiled. Elder Shu, do you have any more books by Taoist Shunchun? The book attributed to Taoist Shunchun had been given to Guan by Shu Lu. It was not sold through the Scripture Pavilion. One of Shu Lu's friends traveling abroad had sent it back from a distant overseas continent, where it was apparently extremely popular. After reading it, Guan had to admit that Taoist Shunchun's writing was excellent. He could even see traces of its influence within Xianxia's travels. Shu Lu later told him that Xianxia had indeed been inspired to write his own travelogue after reading Taoist Shunchun's work. Shu Lu accepted the returned book and looked up at Guan. You brat, books should come after cultivation. Don't become too obsessed. Guan laughed. My aptitude is ordinary. No matter how hard I cultivate, it won't accomplish much. In this life, I'll probably only reach the core formation realm at best. You know, I'm a Medicine Valley master. I can rely on pills to raise my cultivation. Why waste so much time cultivating? I'd rather enjoy life and treasure the years I have. Shu Lu had already begun to understand the limits of his own heavenly fate. Hearing Guan speak that way, he found the reasoning surprisingly sensible. Lu smiled. There is another book by Taoist Xianxia. The person upstairs has it. Go ask him. Guan immediately cupped his hands and headed toward the stairs. Only 2 people were on the 4th floor. One was Ancestor Kusong. The other was a void-crossing realm grand cultivator. Neither paid much attention to the other. Guan walked directly toward Ancestor Kusong. The old man sat beside a window with a book in his hands. Tai Xuan Immortal Venerable. That was the wish fulfillment cultivation novel, written by Pan An. Under Tai Xuan Sect's promotion, both Tai Xuan Immortal Venerable and Investiture of the Gods had spread into the other 8 dynasties over the years. Both were extremely popular. Tai Xuan Immortal Venerable had the broader audience. Investiture of the Gods, meanwhile, was revered among the upper levels of major sects. A popular saying had even appeared in the cultivation world. Those of high realm read Investiture. Those of low realm read Immortal Venerable. The fact that Ancestor Kusung preferred Tai Xuan Immortal Venerable genuinely surprised Guan. Senior, Guan said softly. Elder Shu told me to come upstairs. May I borrow the book by Taoist Dunchun? Ancestor Kusung slipped his left hand into his robe, pulled out a book, and tossed it over. Guan caught it. After glancing through the first few pages, a smile immediately appeared on his face. Ancestor Kusong suddenly asked, Guan, have you read Tai Xuan Immortal Venerable before? Pan An's identity remained a secret within Tai Xuan Sect. Only a small number of people knew the truth. Ancestor Kusong certainly had not realized he was asking the original author. I have. It's all right, Guan commented. Tai Xuan Immortal Venerable was his own original work. That was precisely why he did not enjoy rereading it. There were no surprises left. Ancestor Kusong laughed loudly. Then you don't understand what makes Tai Xuan Immortal Venerable remarkable. In my eyes, this book is even better than Investiture of the Gods. It can fascinate the majority of readers. That proves the author sees deeply into human nature and the ways of the world. Guan replied, I still prefer Investiture of the Gods. It's more detailed, and its imagination reaches much farther. The two immediately began debating which book was superior. Guan did not give in at all. After all, on the surface, he had no idea that the man before him was a supreme elder. They were simply friends of different generations who shared the same hobby. If Guan constantly agreed with and flattered him, the relationship would become meaningless. The debate continued for a long time. In the end, Guan gained the upper hand and left feeling extremely satisfied. Ancestor Kusong angrily escorted him downstairs. Only after Guan disappeared did the old man's irritated expression fade. A teasing smile replaced it. The void-crossing realm cultivator approached. He was a man in gray Taoist robes. Ancestor, why compete so seriously with a Foundation Establishment cultivator? Ancestor Kusong asked in return. He may be in the Foundation Establishment realm, but he can freely enter the inner sect. Do you really think he's that simple? The gray-robed man shook his head. Perhaps he has some background, but cultivation cannot be faked. Ancestor Kusong smiled and said no more. He continued reading Tai Xuan Immortal Venerable. The gray-robed man asked, the sects of the 9 dynasties are preparing to jointly investigate demon territory and search for the source of the coming demon calamity. You know about this, don't you? Ancestor Kusong nodded. This old body of mine no longer has much hope of advancing further. Let me enjoy a few more peaceful days. Then I'll go into demon territory. The gray-robed man immediately said, Ancestor, take me with you. Stop looking for trouble. That expedition is almost certain death. Even as a profound heart realm cultivator, I cannot guarantee I'll be able to protect you. It's that dangerous? Why do you think the Epiphyllum Cult only dared cause trouble inside the 9 dynasties? The gray-robed man's expression changed. Could there be Great Ascension Realm existences hidden in demon territory as well? Ancestor Kusong did not answer. He turned his gaze toward the window. Under the clear blue sky, disciples flew back and forth. The peaceful scenery soothed the heart. Late at night, Tianhuang Mountain, Nianshu Cave abode. Guan was teaching Tian Yaoer the limitless free step. Tian Yaoer was the only person to whom he had passed this movement technique. Combined with the innate earth immortal art, she was bound to become terrifyingly powerful after 1,000 years. Even if she could not dominate everyone at the same realm, very few demons of equal cultivation would ever be able to keep her from escaping. Tian Yaoer was extremely excited by Guan's instruction. This was the first time he had personally taught her a spell technique. The limitless free step was extremely complicated. Tian Yaoer struggled with it. Guan was not in a hurry. A technique like this needed years of practice before its true effects could appear. If Tian Yaoer mastered it after only one lesson, himself might have suffered a mental breakdown. 5 years had already passed. Guan had begun wondering when he should help Tian Yaoer form her golden core. Before they met, Tian Yaoer had been almost like a living container of spiritual medicine. She had already reached the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm. Only one step separated her from core formation. The only reason she had not broken through earlier was that she lacked a true cultivation technique. Now that she practiced the innate earth immortal art, advancing should no longer be difficult. Guan watched Tian Yaoer's graceful movements. Then he suddenly sensed something. His divine sense spread outward. It rose above Tianhuang Mountain and looked down across the entire region. A magnificent and terrifying scene appeared before him. Countless demons were moving north. They came in endless waves, covering mountains, rivers, and plains like a black ocean. Under the night sky, demonic fog surged continuously above them, unable to hide the sheer number of creatures below. Guan swept his senses across the horde. There were demon beasts, devil creatures, ghosts and evil spirits. Their advance made the mountains and earth tremble, and the disturbance was still growing. A moment later, even Nianshu cave abode began shaking faintly. Tian Yaoer stopped in alarm. She hurried to Guan's side and pressed herself against his arm. Both hands clutched his sleeve tightly. Fear filled her eyes. It's happening again. Guan lowered his gaze. What do you mean, again? Tian Yaoer answered. Something like this happened when I was little. Countless demons traveled north. Even the demon mother went. I heard they were going to meet the demon ancestor. The demon ancestor? Guan's interest immediately rose. Tell me about it. He led Tian Yaoer to the stone table and sat down. Tian Yaoer took a deep breath. Then she began recounting the legend she had once heard. Long, long ago, the first demon in heaven and earth was born. He was the demon ancestor. From the moment he came into existence, he stood above all living things. But after countless years, he became lonely. So he scattered his blood across the earth. Living creatures were washed by that blood and transformed into demons. She paused. Later, another kind of creature appeared on the land. They called themselves humans. They were terrifyingly powerful. They slaughtered demons openly and without restraint. Tian Yaoer could not help glancing nervously at Guan. By now, she knew he was not a demon. He was human. To a demon who had never truly interacted with humanity, humans were frightening creatures. If Guan had not saved her life, Tian Yaoer would have tried to escape long ago. Guan wore his mask. When he showed no reaction, Tian Yaoer gathered her courage and continued. The human cultivators who came from outside were incredibly powerful. They slaughtered demons, seized demon cores and treasures, and eventually enraged the demon ancestor. The demon ancestor personally acted and drove those terrifying human cultivators away. But that was when the true disaster began. Many years later, the human cultivators attacked again. This time, there were even more of them. To protect the demon race, the demon ancestor fought them and eventually fell. His body and Tao were destroyed. Afterward, humanity settled on this land. The demon race entered an age of oppression. Throughout those long years, demons have always dreamed of resurrecting the demon ancestor and driving humanity from this world completely. Now, the demon ancestor is said to be close to resurrection. Every few decades, demons from across the world travel north to worship him and offer their own demon blood.